Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Ninja Useless. I am Mangekyō Susanata Buddha. Chapter 51. Multiple Shadow Clone Technique is a level 30 skill on Madara's skill tree. After Yufan upgraded to level 30, he had already obtained this special skill for group fights. Yufan also went to the mall to look around and found that if this skill was purchased separately, it would actually cost a full 1,500 points. Now I just go to whoring for free, it's very satisfying. So, under the shocked eyes of Mangekyō and his group, Yufan waved his hand and led his number 50 and number 30 bull-headed beast into the ring of the trial site. Mangekyō even felt the ground shaking slightly as they were marching. He had a very strange feeling now. Only they came to challenge the trial ground, not Yufan, who came to clean up. There are more than 80 combat units. Are you kidding? The army only has 38 people in a platoon. How many of you are going in with more than 2 rows of people, right? Is there any heavenly principle? Are there any laws? VIP viewing room, 3rd floor. What kind of professional skill is this? Do you know? The skill of summoning and controlling wild monsters looks like the skill of the summoner genre in the magician profession, but the summoner definitely does not have clone skills. Quote, I think the skills of this clone are very similar to the skills of the hidden profession, illusion mage, but even the clones summoned by the illusion mage are just illusions and do not have entities. But I see that the clone of this little guy below seems to have entity. Quote, what is this little guy's profession? Which school is he from? The principal should come forward and say it. I don't know. When we started paying attention to him, he had already put on a mask. Did any of you notice him before? Quote. Between the time Yufan planned to enter the first ring and the time when 2 platoons of combat units were drawn out, the mood of the principals changed greatly. First, he scolded Yufan and the 2 for their nonsense. They planned to keep an eye on them separately and be ready to save others at any time. Then I started to be shocked by Yufan's crazy method of shaking people cows. But after all, the principals are well informed and do not directly doubt life like Mangekyō. It didn't take long for them to start seriously discussing Yufan's career. Discussions ranged from mainstream professions to various hidden professions, but Yufan's profession could not be discussed. There are only 2 people in this room who know the truth. One was Qin Meng's father, Qin Haitian. He didn't say a word because he was waiting for the Dragon Kingdom's number 1, Berserker, Big Horse Monkey, to arrive. The other one was the frozen fish sword master Gao Kasheng. He didn't say a word because he was waiting for the college entrance examination to be over and take Yufan away directly. This was a fatal mission assigned to him by his brother Gao Qicheng after discussing it with his master, Lord Sword God. Although he already knew in advance that Yufan had developed 3 skills on his own, he was still surprised. He originally thought that the most powerful of the 3 skills developed by Yufan must be the hollow skill that could avoid his drawing sword. But he was wrong. The summoning skills and clone skills Yufan had just used were also ridiculously powerful. If every ninja in the Dragon Kingdom can be like Yufan, who can divide 40 or 50 clones, summon and control 20 or 30 wild monsters, then wouldn't the Dragon Kingdom be able to directly rely on the human sea tactics to wipe out all beast-infested areas? Are there still countries that don't know what is good and what is bad? For example, Neon wants to dump monster feces directly into the sea. Quote, Gao Kasheng clenched his fists excitedly, feeling that he was going to make a great contribution this time and that he could stand up to those old fool in the military. VIP viewing room, 2nd floor. Compared with the academic discussions and ulterior motives on the 3rd floor, the performance on the 2nd floor is very down to earth. At the beginning, Yufan and Mangekyō's group had some conflicts. When Yufan pointed the Uchiha fan at Mangekyō, most people were mocking Yufan for overestimating his abilities and trying to flatter Mangekyō. After that, Mangekyō retreated, and Mangekyō looked a little confused. They started to say that Mangekyō knew the general situation and knew how to advance and retreat. Finally, they turned the page. After that, Yufan summons the army and releases the clone technique. Now the entire 2nd floor was shocked because it was too exaggerated. These people have watched the college entrance examination not once or twice, but they have never seen anyone create an army in the trial field. No matter how eloquent they were, they couldn't flatter him and say that Mangekyō was the strongest. As a result, President May started to make a fuss, saying that Yufan must have cheated, and claimed several times that he would go to the third floor to ask for an explanation, and that Yufan could not be allowed to destroy the fairness of the college entrance examination. One of the most important reasons why May Pian was so angry was that Yufan and Huang Sikong were in the same group. Huang Sikong actually took the college entrance examination and got such a powerful person. He couldn't accept this. But the person who was most affected by this incident was not May Pian, but Huang Zhonlin, the president of the Bayota Chamber of Commerce. He lay on the window and looked out, his eyes tearing. He really couldn't figure out what his son, who had been missing for a month, was doing. Huang Zhonlin had actually guessed that Huang Sikong was going to take the college entrance examination, but he never imagined that Huang Sikong would be brave enough to walk the first ring with Yufan. He is a professional in life. Doesn't he have any ambition in his heart? If the Divine Eye Appraiser could fight, their family wouldn't have to huddle in this small Luo city. No matter how powerful the masked person is, he may be too distracted to take care of himself in the first ring. When the time comes, he will only die. Huang Zhonlin was very broken. Huang Sikong is Huang Jianlin's only child. A large part of the reason why Huang Zhonlin was able to condone Huang Sikong's various behaviors over the years was that Huang Zhonlin only had such a son. He would like to have a few more, but his body doesn't allow it and he has hidden diseases in that area. Therefore, no matter how much Huang Sikong made trouble, he was still the only young master of Bayota Chamber of Commerce. Huang Zhonlin usually lets him go. But this time it's different, this idiot is risking his own life. Huang Sikong is not married yet and has no children. If he mailed it here, then Huang Zhonlin would be the best. The huge Bayota Chamber of Commerce can only be given away to others for free. The ancients said that the poor cannot reach the third generation, and the rich cannot reach the third generation. This is indeed true. The children of rich people have been rich since childhood. They have no desire and maintenance for money and will pursue other things. They may even become an inexplicable psychopath and risk their lives, just like Huang Sikong. A place of trial. As soon as Yufan entered the first ring, he came face to face with a group of about 10 tall green monsters. It was indeed a link. Even in the outermost area, there were actually groups of monsters wandering around. Yufan nodded secretly. These monsters are none other than the goblins that Yufan has dealt with many times. However, the goblins in this trial place were different from any goblins he had seen before. In addition to being tall, they also have an extremely conspicuous feature. They all have a long-eared elf hanging on their body. There is an iron ring on each wrist of the elf, and the 2 iron rings are connected with an iron chain. The same goes for feet. Their hands turned up and hung around the goblin's neck. The same applies to both feet, but they are turned back and hung on the goblin's buttocks. They all have a relatively thick stick in their mouths and cannot make any sound. Generally speaking, these elves are like a piece of armor worn by goblins. But these elves themselves didn't wear much clothes. Even if they did, they were in tatters and could not play the role that clothes should have. This position allows these goblins to start doing casual things anytime and anywhere, in the perfect position. I want to post pictures, but my strength doesn't allow it. Yufan had never seen such goblins before, so he used Sky Eye Check directly on them. Name: Goblin General. Level 25. Skill: Elven Armor. Goblin generals will trade with the elves, exchanging items or labor for the elves who have made big mistakes, and then educate and sign contracts with the elves to completely obey them. After that, the goblins it will begin to continuously send energy into the elf's body and store it there. Once encountering fatal danger, at the moment of the elf's death, a massive amount of energy will flow into the goblin general's body again, causing it to enter a violent state and exponentially increase its combat effectiveness. Note: if possible, please try to kill the goblin general without killing the elves. Although Goblin General looks strange in appearance, his skills are also very strange. But in terms of true strength, it is definitely not comparable to the Dragon Demon Goblin with sub-dragon blood, and the level difference is also a full 10 levels. There were 20 huge bull-headed beasts around Yufan. They made a lot of noise when moving, and were soon discovered by a Goblin General patrolling in the distance. Gah, 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 gah. He made a rhythmic call to his companions who were resting not far away. The meaning was simple. Someone was invading, so he picked up weapons and prepared to attack. Galu. Ga. Quote. The goblin generals were very excited because no one had dared to enter this area for a long time. They spread out, forming a surrounding net, and moved toward Yufan. But after discovering the target, he realized how stupid his idea of beating the opponent was. Ga, the leader of the goblin general, had doubts in his clear and stupid eyes like a college student. How could someone come in with an army? Isn't this bullying an honest goblin? After thinking carefully for a few seconds, he decisively chose to retreat. A good goblin would not suffer the immediate loss. But it doesn't know that Yufan sees all its actions. The pupil power of this pair of Mangekyō Sharingan has reached an astonishing 5,564 points. While acquiring various Mangekyō skills, the insight ability has also been greatly improved. The perception ability is far beyond what these goblins can match. Moreover, after all, goblin generals are not suitable for stealth operations at all. The bodies of elves in them are constantly swaying, but it is impossible for any perceptive professional to not notice it. The reason why Yufan pretended not to know about their actions was just to let them get close to him. At this moment, the goblins thought that Yufan hadn't noticed them and planned to retreat slowly. This was a good opportunity for Yufan to make a sneak attack. Everyone scolds Lao Lu, but everyone wants to be Lao Lu. Those who like to take a sniper rifle and lie down on the sinister people when playing chicken and escape games, there is one of them, who is not addicted to being the sixth person. I would like to introduce it to you all. Kamui 98K. The caliber can be large or small, 100% silenced, extremely powerful, no recoil, and extremely accurate. You can hit wherever you want. There are no downsides other than a slightly shorter range. Yufan looked at one of the goblin generals who was walking slowly, and with a ding sound, red light flashed in his eyes, and the Mangekyō Sharingan unfolded. Left eye Kamui. Kamui's twisted space instantly appeared at the neck of the goblin general. There was a crisp sound of click, and the neck was completely broken, oh no, twisted off. The smooth green head flew far away under the impact of the spurting blood. The air was filled with the thick smell of blood. Hokage is the sniper god, and his bullets are all shot without missing a beat. The greatest joy of being the sixth child is that someone dies in your hands, but you don't know what happened. You hide deep behind the scenes and walk away after the incident. With Sharingan's blessing, Yufan could clearly see the confused and helpless expression on the face of the goblin's head as it fell. Cool. On the body of the dead goblin, the imprisoned elf twitched all over under the influence of the contract, and soon rolled his eyes and passed away. Her tongue stretched long on her cheek, and sticky saliva dripped down drop by drop. A faint wisp of turquoise smoke slowly floated from the elf's body, and then floated into the sky. What is that? This was the first time Yufan saw such a thing on a monster. But before he could think of the reason, the wisp of light green smoke suddenly stopped floating upward, then changed direction and shot towards Yufan. The speed was so fast that even Yufan couldn't react. System, I was shot. Yufan exclaimed. Please host not to be a coward. Congratulations to the host for killing Goblin General, gaining a ray of pure life energy, and increasing the pupil power by 200, currently 5,765 10,000. Please continue to increase the pupil power to obtain the eternal Mangekyō Sharingan. What? 200 pupil power? Yufan was a little confused, thinking that when he killed a dragon goblin, he only gained 1,000 points of pupil power. Now this useless Goblin General can actually increase his points by a full 200 points every time he Kamui sends out items one by one. Including the one that just died, wouldn't it directly increase the pupil power by 2,000 points? Yufan was overjoyed. He clearly felt that his pupil power had increased again, and what the system said was true. But the moment Yufan felt the increase in pupil power, the entire trial place seemed to suddenly come to a halt. That's right, there was a pause, just like when watching a video, it suddenly got stuck, giving Yufan an extreme sense of stripping. Could this be related to me absorbing the life energy of Goblin General? Quote. Yufan suddenly remembered what he had learned in high school. In the place of trial, everything is not an entity, everything is part of the way of heaven, and it is the illusion of the way of heaven. Therefore, killing monsters in the trial field will neither explode equipment nor generate experience points. Hiss. Yufan touched his chin and thought about it. Since he didn't have explosive equipment and had no experience, there was no reason for him to produce life energy. Everything is transformed by the way of heaven. Wait, is it possible? A bold idea popped into Yufan's mind. Could it be that the life energy I just absorbed is actually the way of heaven? Yufan took a breath. What is the way of heaven? The way of heaven is the origin of all things, and it is the great existence that bestows career on mankind. The fact that he absorbed the way of heaven with the help of the system can definitely be said to be a treasonous act. This is how to do. For a moment, there was a war between heaven and man in Yufan's mind. On the one hand, you cannot do things that are blasphemous to heaven. One side is a way to quickly improve pupil power. Regarding this, Yufan struggled in place for half a second, and finally made a decision as a last resort, letting Tiandao feel aggrieved first. Well, I'm really confused. Before the remaining 9 goblin generals could run away, Yufan opened Mangekyō again and aimed at one of them with Kamui. Just before Yufan took action, the locked goblin general somehow realized that it had been locked. He suddenly turned around and blocked the elf in front of him. Yufan's Kamui, which was originally aimed at the goblin's neck, unexpectedly hit the elf's head. The newly self-proclaimed Hokage sniper god immediately lost his reputation. Generally, the skulls of mammals are very hard. But as long as it is a normal creature, it is impossible to withstand space ninjutsu like Kamui. The elf died instantly, and the entire head from the tip of the nose to the top was torn off by the distortion of space. But at the moment the elf died, a powerful life energy overflowed from her body and poured into the body of the Goblin General. Goblin General's entire body instantly grew taller, and the muscles on his body became as hard as steel. Is this the rage of the elf general? This is the first time Yufan has seen the elf armor skill take effect. Interesting, but useless. As I just said, Kamui is 98k, and the caliber can be large or small. So I used a 98k with a caliber of 1 meter, which is reasonable. Kamui. A huge black hole covered the Goblin General. The Berserk Goblin General is 2 meters tall, and the Kamui black hole with a diameter of 1 meter covers half of its body. Needless to say, this madness really has some effect. The Goblin General who went berserk was actually able to stand firm for a second or two when covered by such a huge Kamui black hole. Using physical strength to resist the tearing caused by space distortion is really powerful. But that was all. 2 seconds later, another Goblin General's body appeared in the trial area. Its entire upper body had disappeared, leaving only its legs and head alone on the ground. Hey, little goblins, there's no point in resisting. You might as well cooperate with me honestly and still have a whole corpse. Yufan smiled evilly and looked at the remaining Goblin Generals. They stopped running at this time, because they clearly realized that it was impossible for them to run away under the attack of that strange black hole. If he tried to escape and exposed his defenseless backside to Yufan, he would only get his head twisted off violently. What's going on? After several seconds, Yufan could not wait for the life energy to float from Goblin General. What the hell, where is Laozi's 200 points of pupil power? Yufan touched his chin. What's going on? Could it be that the bug has been fixed? No, it's not a game. Where can a programmer come to fix the bug? What's the difference between the way the first one dies and the second one's death? The most important thing is 2 points. 1. The parts of the body that are transported into the Kamui space are different. 2. The first one didn't turn on the berserk state, but the second one did. If he followed rigorous scientific methods, Yufan should kill a few more animals now to conduct control experiments and finally draw conclusions. But this is reality, not scientific research. What Yufan wants is not a conclusion, but the result of obtaining life energy and increasing pupil power. So there is no need to compare, just repeat successful cases. Yufan made up his mind. What he has to do now is to twist the neck of the Goblin General without killing the elves. At this moment, the remaining 8 Goblin Generals were facing Yufan, ready to attack. 2 companions were killed inexplicably without even touching Yufan, which put them under great psychological pressure. They gasped for air, completely ignoring the elves below their heads who were so smoked that they were hopeless. Yufan took out a kunai from his system and swung it towards the nearest goblin. Call out. The kunai made a crackling sound and exploded towards its head. Faced with this scene, Goblin General not only did not panic, but was overjoyed. The strange masked man opposite can no longer use that black hole attack. Its first reaction was this: the 2 dead brothers did not die in vain. Although kunai is fast, there are traces to follow. The Goblin General jumped sideways, and the kunai flew past the elf's nose. The Goblin General raised his lips slightly. Without that move, Yufan has nothing to fear. Not only will it not die, but it will also avenge its 2 dead brothers. The moment it had such an idea, it discovered that there seemed to be a strange piece of paper trailing on the tail of this kunai, with a black symbol on the piece of paper. But before it could see clearly what was on the paper, its heart suddenly tightened, and its previous joy and ambition were swept away, followed immediately by the fear of death. Because the moment it saw the piece of paper, the picture in front of it blurred, and then a figure appeared strangely. At the same time as he appeared, he actually caught the kunai in mid-flight. It's Yufan wearing the mask. As an old Hokage fan, Yufan never thought about using kunai to kill enemies from beginning to end. The moment he took out the kunai, he had already marked the Flying Thunder God on the piece of paper tied behind the kunai. Throw a kunai just to confuse your opponent while getting closer quickly. This is a common method used by Minato. Yufan's eyes lit up red, and Kamui was released again. Since we want to replicate the previous situation, we naturally have to try our best to be as similar as possible. That's a full 200 points of pupil power. If you go to a dungeon to brush it, you have to brush hundreds of mobs to achieve the effect of this one. Goblin General wanted to lift up the elf in front of him to block the blow, and at the same time activate the berserk state. But it's too late. At such a close distance, Yufan can't make a mistake. Goblin General was successfully killed. The situation was exactly the same as the first one. The green life energy emerging from the elf suddenly flew towards Yufan while flying into the sky. Yufan once again increased his pupil power by 200 points. Although it sounds complicated, it all happens in an instant. In the eyes of others, the situation was that Yufan threw a kunai, and then appeared in front of the monster instantly, and then with a click, the head of Goblin General fell off. Without waiting for the other goblins to react, Yufan followed suit and threw the same kunai again. The targeted Goblin General suddenly woke up from his shock. Originally, he planned to dodge the blow by turning sideways, but when he remembered how the Goblin General died just now, he suddenly changed his mind. This strange masked man will teleport over. That being the case, it's not as good as Gaha. It raised its fist and punched the kunai, its fists dense like raindrops. Once Yufan teleports over, he will be beaten to pieces immediately. Haha, he is indeed a Goblin General. He is just much smarter than ordinary goblins. What a pity that one is not the mark of Flying Thunder God. The moment the kunai was hit, a dazzling white light lit up on the piece of paper behind it. Boom! The explosion suddenly sounded. This is a detonating charm. This is a commonly used method for second-generation projects. I throw out a kunai, guess what is behind it is the Flying Thunder God or the detonating talisman. The smart aleck Goblin General was blown to the ground, apparently stunned. Fortunately, the detonating talisman is not powerful enough to kill the elves who are also monsters instantly. Yufan is simply a Kawe, with these 200 points of pupil power. Roar! 4 of the 10 brothers died in the blink of an eye. The leader, General Gobu, knew that he could not do this anymore. If you continue like this, you will only be killed one by Yufan. With a loud roar, he ordered the remaining Goblin Generals to attack Yufan with all their strength. By now, Yufan has finally understood that their so-called elf armor is affected by the contract and cannot take the initiative to kill the elves in front of him and enter a violent state. Losing this layer of worries, Yufan no longer hesitated, took out a large handful of kunai and scattered the flowers directly towards the sky. Each of these kunai has been stamped with the Flying Thunder God's mark. If you ask people who play sniping, what is the most troublesome thing? There is no doubt that a good sniper point cannot be found. But Yufan is different, Flying Thunder God plus Kamui 98k. A sniper flying around the entire map. I would like to ask, how should you respond? Yufan used the kunai as a foothold, flickering in midair, like a dragonfly touching water, changing one place with one shot, and changing another place with one shot. If there is a chance in the future, use Impure World Reincarnation to resurrect Newton and let him do a stress analysis on Yufan. Can anyone provide Newton's body tissue? Thank you. The 6 goblin lords were like a group of fools. They rushed towards wherever Yufan appeared. But every time before they touched the corner of Yufan's clothes, Yufan had already moved to the other side, so they had to turn around and start running again. It's like walking a dog, very joyful. There is no other way, since there is neither displacement nor long-range attack means, it can only be slipped away like this. They couldn't touch Yufan, but every time Yufan flinched, one of their necks would be broken. In just 10 seconds, 10 goblin generals were already lying neatly together. Several more rays of life energy poured into Yufan's body. Except for one goblin general that went berserk and did not increase its pupil power, the life energy of the other 9 were successfully harvested by Yufan. Yufan glanced at the system prompt bar. The eye power has reached 7,364 points, which is less than 3,000 points away from the 10,000 points required for the eternal Mangekyō. A highly efficient batch. Opportunities like this don't come along very often. Yufan frowned slightly and looked around. The only chance to enter this place of trial is the big exam. After leaving the trial area, clearing those ordinary dungeons, how many points can be added to each monster, and I don't know how many times I have to clear the dungeons to replenish the remaining pupil power. Yufan didn't believe that there were only 10 goblin generals outside the trial area. After thinking for a moment, Yufan made up his mind, and with a thought, all the shadow clone and the 20 bull-headed beasts he controlled dispersed. Look, turn this piece over and look for it. Don't let one go. I don't believe that's all. There must be others hidden somewhere. After saying this, Yufan was stunned. Why do my words sound so much like what the Japanese said when they entered the village? Not long after, the entire perimeter of the first ring began to make rumbling sounds. Yufan's shadow clone is okay, just observing here and there. The giant bull-headed beast is not so detailed. It cuts everywhere with an axe and cuts wherever it goes. The 4 words, rummaging through boxes and cabinets, are vividly interpreted. The place of trial, the second ring area in the east. Although he was shocked by Yufan's sudden trick on a large number of people, Mangekyō quickly calmed down and organized his teammates to take action. His goal this time is to quickly reach the road to heaven, then shine on the road to heaven, let Master Gao Qi see him, and finally become a disciple of the Sword God. Lord, Sword God, is the strongest man in the Dragon Kingdom. As long as he becomes a disciple of the Sword God, whether it is Huang Sikong, Bayoda Chamber of Commerce, or Yufan, they are just ants at his own mercy. Yufan is not a ghost swordsman, so he has no qualifications to compete with him. No matter how strong he is or how many tricks he has, it can't affect his plan. It is impossible for Master Sword God to accept a ninja as his disciple. This is the ghost swordsman. In the Dragon Kingdom, the ghost swordsman is the strongest. And the sword soul genre that Mangekyō follows has the best future among all ghost swordsmen. Even though he is no match for Yufan now, deep down in his heart, he still feels that Yufan cannot compare with him. The first stage of the exam is to travel through the trial area and reach the road to heaven. At this stage, candidates are not required to take the initiative to kill monsters, it is just a matter of speed. Ranked based on speed, points are then awarded. Therefore, at this stage, combat is secondary, and the most important thing is concealment. There was once a candidate in Luo City who awakened the hidden profession, Shadow of the Blade. This profession has 2 skills that are extremely suitable for running away: Shadow Assault, that can be invisible and accelerated, and Assassin's Way, that can quickly climb walls and climb mountains. This candidate relied on these 2 skills to run alone from the 4th ring road to the road to heaven without even pausing in the middle. In the end, he set a Los Angeles record of 20 minutes and 10 seconds crossing the trial ground. Of course Mangekyō and the others knew these rules very well. Therefore, They all hunched their bodies, being careful not to make any sound with their feet, and each of them was responsible for guarding one direction. In this way, he moved steadily forward in the forest at a speed that was neither fast nor slow. Although it can't be discovered by any monster like the shadow of the blade. But even if they are discovered by a monster, they can quickly deal with the monster without making too much noise to attract other monsters. Mangekyō is already level 25. Although he is not yet proficient in the level 25 skills, Ray Ghost Sword, and Silver Light Falling Blade, with the blessing of Aurora Sword, he can still easily deal decent damage. Everything was going smoothly as planned, and Mangekyō felt a little more at ease. But unfortunately, this peace of mind only lasted 10 minutes. Mangekyō now regrets very much why he chose a location so close to the second ring road. From the very beginning, the sound of boom and boom kept coming from the circle where Yufan was. His area heard it very clearly. He could hear it, and so could the wild monsters. This place of trial has always been very quiet, and with such a loud noise suddenly appearing, the monsters would inevitably be frightened. Mangekyō's team constantly encountered these monsters running around, which greatly hindered their progress. There is even a four-eyed demonic wolf, with a level as high as 30. Someone in the team almost lost his life trying to deal with it quickly. Mangekyō's trigeminal nerve was beating wildly. He knew who caused this inexplicable situation without even thinking. It must be Yufan who is crazy. Which candidate doesn't know that the place of trial needs to be passed secretly? Everyone was quiet and tried to avoid fighting. Apart from Yufan, Mangekyō could not have imagined that anyone else would make such a big fuss in the trial ground. And Mangekyō was certain that this was definitely not the sound caused by normal movement. Although there are so many people and so many giant bull-headed beasts, it is impossible to sneak like other teams. But at most it was just that there was sound around. Like now, the sound was loud enough that the second ring could hear it. Mangekyō simply couldn't imagine what Yufan was doing. You came to this place of trial to carry out demolition, right? Can you think about other people's exams? Mangekyō waved his lightsaber to deal with the wild monsters while cursing Yufan crazily in his heart. In this situation, they don't need to hide anything anymore, it's meaningless. The chessboard has been overturned by Yufan's lunatic, so naturally there is no way to go about it. Since meeting this Yufan, nothing has gone as planned for Lousy. Mangekyō thought hopelessly. This person is definitely not a student of my Nanchang number 1 middle school. Wang Xing said firmly, as the principals of the 6 major high schools, the first thing they pay attention to is naturally those top students who challenge the top 3 rings. In addition to Yufan who entered the first ring, there are also many students who dare to challenge the second ring this year. There is a team led by Mangekyō, a team led by Qin Meng and Zhang Xiaoxiao, a team led by Yu Kun, and a team led by Bai Xiaoxiao and Wang Yanyan. A full 4 teams entered the second ring. More importantly, the 4 teams were well equipped and marched smoothly. In previous years, Nanchang and Baikang would have compared and competed with each other. But this year the situation is special. Gaokasheng came to Kyoto. If the results of the college entrance examination are dismal, others will inevitably say to the big bosses when they go back, "Oh, the education in that small place in Los Angeles is not very good." Then the old faces of the 6 of them are really unbearable. So the 6 of them are relatively harmonious this year. There is both prosperity and loss. After all, people like Gao Kashang will definitely not specifically talk about why a certain high school is like this. If I say it, it is why Los Angeles is like this. Therefore, when they saw that the situation this year was much better than in previous years, the 6 old guys put their hearts back into their stomachs. Of course, this heart only stayed in their stomachs for less than 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, Yufan successfully killed 10 goblin generals. This guy is pretty good. I have never seen his skills before. In addition to summoning wild monsters and clones, he also has skills that can teleport and distort space remotely. These 4 skills are really good. Well, I think it's comparable to some level 40 or even level 45 ultimate moves. I'm afraid it's not a hidden profession, and then I found the hidden family of this profession and obtained the inheritance of skills. It's just that he wears a mask, but he doesn't know which school he is a student of. I think he might be a student of my Nanchang number 1 middle school. I seem to have some impression. Wang Xing said shamelessly, stroking his beard. You fart, this is obviously a student from my Baikang number. 1 middle school. There are several hidden professions in my Baikang number. 1 middle school, and I think this must be one of them. Oh, don't argue, you two. I think maybe they are actually students from my south number. 2 middle school. Li Chudao said with a smile. You shut up, the two said in unison. If one was to say who was least liked among the 6 principals, it was undoubtedly Li Chudao. If you want to say the reason, it is very simple. Just imagine, you have a friend who you have known for a long time. When you were single, due to professional reasons, he was surrounded by a cute little devil every day, chasing after him like a little follower every day, and then shouting, Master, Master, please be more coy. How silly. You are a little envious, but it doesn't matter, you think you will have a wife soon. Soon, you got married to a good woman, but women are also human beings after all. There were no big conflicts between you two, but small conflicts continued. Love gradually turned into family affection, and you lost the original passion. At this time, what about your friend? His little devil is not only beautiful, but also very obedient. He does whatever he is told. Needless to say, he warms the bed, runs errands, and picks up express delivery. Even her clothes are completely based on your friend's interests, JK, Hanfu, Lolita, white silk, black silk, lace, there are a lot of them. Sometimes your friend gets interested and wants to play something exciting with her, and she responds to her requests, which is completely different from your wife. And what he plans to play at night, you can always tell by the clothes the little devil wears. The little devil doesn't have to go to work. If you see her suddenly put on some very professional uniforms, like those of a stewardess or a nurse. What exactly are you planning to do? You have a clear mind. You are really envious, but there is nothing you can do about it. Profession is something you are born with. You can only comfort yourself by saying that this is how it is meant to be. Time, it always makes people grow old. It turns grapes purple and softens bananas. As you age, you become an old man over 50, and your wife has long lost her former grace and has become a just and ordinary nagging old woman. You are not dissatisfied with this. People always have to reach this point. Your mentality is very peaceful, in line with the calmness that a strong person should have. Until you meet that friend of yours. His little devil hasn't aged at all, he's still the same, as shy and cute as you saw when he was single in his 20s. She was wearing all kinds of beautiful clothes, following behind your friend, shouting, Master, Master. As for your friend, he still has no self-consciousness. When chatting with you, he always likes to pinch and touch her body in a familiar way, making the little devil giggle. At that moment, your mentality completely collapsed. We are all human, why can only this guy be so happy? Li Chudao, you really deserve to die. The resentment accumulated over the past few decades erupted at this moment, turning into a blazing black flame. You don't want to say another word, you just want to collapse the mountain and crack the earth, to send this plant to see the king of hell. Fortunately, several principals were relatively sensible, which allowed Li Chudao to live until now with sound limbs. It's just that I don't like to see him a little bit. After telling Li Chudao to shut up, Wang Xing was about to say a few more words. Then he saw an amazing scene. Yu Fan actually commanded his army to start frantically looking for monsters outside the first ring of the trial area, and then kill them. The movement was so loud that even the monsters in the second ring were frightened. After the monsters in the second ring were frightened, they began to run around, and many of them went directly to the third ring area. That's all. The originally good situation suddenly turned into a mess. The entire inner third ring road turned into a mess. The sudden change caught several people by surprise, and a mouthful of old blood almost spurted out. Here, what is this guy doing? Could it be that he doesn't know the rules of the trial land? This is a time travel war. What did he think it was? A war of annihilation. It's a mess, it's a mess. Which school is this guy from? Our Nanchang number 1 middle school strictly explains the rules of the exam and conducts many drills. This person is definitely not from our Nanchang number 1 middle school. Wang Xing vowed, completely forgetting what he said a minute ago. We are definitely not from Baikang number 1 middle school. We definitely do no less drills than Nanchang number 1 middle school. The principal of Baikang number 1 middle school said loudly. The entire viewing room fell into a strange silence. After about 10 seconds, Wang Xing suddenly said quietly, I think this person is from Nan number 2 middle school and is a student of Li Chudao. What do you think? Quote. I think so too. That's probably it. I guess that's right. Quote. Li Chudao, what do you think? Li Chu said, I don't think so. It seems that monsters like Goblin General are rare even in the trial area. Yu Fan almost turned over the entire outside of the first ring, but he only found 2 more in a cave. The 2 Goblin Generals were sleeping at the time. After Yu Fan discovered them, he directly used Susanna in his primary form, a form with only ribs and 1 hand, to take them out of the cave. Then he twisted his head and turned it into his own 400-point pupil power. Can be eaten after removing the head. I have to say that Susanoo and Kamui are also a perfect match. Use Susanna to hold the opponent down first, then use Kamui. It's very exciting to change from a moving target to a fixed target. These 2 Goblin Generals, living in the trial area may have never thought about it. One day I will be taken out of my own home and killed while sleeping. Goblin General, I really know how to thank you. I hate humans who have no sense of boundaries. Mangekyō led his team through the outskirts of the trial area in disgrace and arrived at the first checkpoint. When traveling through the trial area, in addition to guarding against wild monsters, you also have to pass 2 levels. One leads from the periphery to the middle, and another leads from the center to the entrance of the road to heaven, for a total of 2. This level is not fixed, but is randomly generated by heaven. No one knows it before the exam starts. There is very great uncertainty. The so-called time is also fate. Sometimes there are some very magical levels in the big exam. Teams that are very strong and have made a lot of preparations have a hard time, but some professionals with strange skills can get through easily. Just like the Shadow of the Blade, back then. The level that year was 2 huge walls that spanned the entire trial area, 1 wall of ice and 1 wall of fire. If ordinary people want to pass through, they must use fire and ice attribute attacks to create a passage on the wall. It can be said to be a time-consuming and laborious physical job. But the profession, Shadow of the Blade, has a very magical skill called Assassin's Way. The only use of this skill is that it can climb any wall regardless of height. To be honest, this skill is very useless in normal times. Even if it is used as a displacement skill, it has great limitations. At most, it can be used to climb over the neighbor's wall. It belongs to Lao Wang's happy technique. But this skill came into play in that big test. While others were still poaching the wall, he relied on this skill to easily climb over the wall and became the biggest winner in that big test. In fact, it is no different from an ordinary exam. Some people memorize 1,000 questions, but they may not be able to answer a single question. Some people only memorize 1 question, and then succeed in solving it. When a person is unlucky, his teeth are filled with cold water. When luck comes, he cannot stop it. This is normal. Mangekyō nervously looked at the first hurdle that blocked everyone's progress this year. It was a huge swamp river, flowing from the westernmost edge of the trial land to the easternmost edge. It's the Demon Marsh River. Mangekyō was overjoyed. When he was forming the team, he had considered that this year's level might have a situation like the Demon Swamp River, so he specially formed a very powerful hidden profession with ice attributes. Frost Witch, just like Dragon Flame Mage, is recognized as the first fire profession in the Dragon Kingdom. The Frost Witch's ice ability is also recognized as the strongest in the entire Dragon Kingdom. But compared with the lofty status of Dragon Flame Mage, the status of Frost Witch is very subtle. In fact, if you think carefully about the title of this profession, you can see that it is unreasonable. General professional names, such as the mainstream, Ghost Swordsman, Fighter, and the hidden professions, Ninja, Elemental Mage, Blade Shadow, and so on. These 5 flowers 8 gate professions are absolutely gender neutral, and there is no such thing as male ninja or female ghost swordsman. Like Frost Witch, there are few profession names that directly put gender in their name. But the most thing is that this profession is not only for women. Men may also change jobs and become frost witch. Men are inherently young, and their masculine bodies are neither suitable for ice attributes nor suitable for being a witch. What to do? The answer given by Tiandao is simple: just become a woman. When a man awakens the frost witch, his body will be slowly transformed during the upgrade process. The skin slowly becomes smoother, the voice becomes thinner, and the body gradually becomes softer and slender. If your talent is strong enough, you can successfully upgrade to level 50 and complete your first awakening. Then she will lose her second brother and completely become a girl. Therefore, there are many male frost witches in the world. Even if they can break through level 50, they will choose to stay at level 49. Although she looks like a great beauty from the outside, at least the second brother is still there, retaining the last bit of dignity. This is very subtle. If you see a powerful and high-level frost witch, you have to think about her status before interacting with her. If it's someone who hasn't reached level 50, you have to think about whether she is good or not good. If she is above level 50, you have to think about whether she was good or bad before, so as not to say something that shouldn't be said and anger the other party. In addition, due to the body-modifying properties of frost witches, they all have amazing looks. Uniform light blue pupils, jade-like skin, and eye shadow. What's more, all frost witches have white fur. Finding a frost witch, who was originally a girl as a girlfriend, is the dream of many men in the Dragon Kingdom. Of course, many people only dare to think about it. After all, even if the other party tells you that she used to be a woman, you are not sure that she is telling the truth. It can be said that such tragedies happen every year. I went to a bar to drink and met a frost witch. After a night of clouds and rain, show off to your friends. Gee, the frost witch tastes so good. Then my friend used his contacts to check. Well, I used to be a man. Not to mention the huge psychological shadow left behind, this matter will be brought up several times every year in the future. Of course, the population base of Dragon Kingdom is so large, there are all kinds of birds in the forest, and there are also some people with strange interests. They love beautiful women and white hair. For them, as long as it looks good. In the past, it didn't matter to them whether they were male or female. What's even worse is, a man. I'm even more excited. The subtleties of the frost witch professional status can be seen in Madara. He Yuan, it's your turn to help. Mangekyō said to a handsome boy behind him. That's right, the frost witch Mangekyō found was a boy. Although he has barely reached level 20 now, the influence of his profession has begun to take shape. He has the image of an extremely delicate little boy, with fair skin that looks like he has been powdered. If those older sisters who like little boys saw it, they might not be able to bear it on the spot. Good, He Yuan responded and stepped forward. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and then opened them suddenly. The next second, the aura around him changed dramatically, and the cold air surged out like ocean waves. The ground under his feet was instantly covered with frost, and the area covered was still spreading rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. Arctic Field, the level 20 skill of Frost Witch. After use, it creates an area of extremely low temperature centered on the user, causing continuous damage to those who enter the area, but the user himself is not affected in any way. After turning on the skill, Li Yuan rushed towards Zuhei without saying a word. His level is not high, so he will not be able to maintain the state of the domain for too long, and no time can be wasted. Li Yuan took the lead, walking on flat ground on the marsh river, leaving a very hard ice road behind him. Follow up. Mangekyō waved his hand and led the rest of the team onto the ice road. This time, there is finally no Yufan around to cause trouble, Mangekyō thought happily. Maybe Yufan simply doesn't have the means to pass through the Demon Marsh River. In that case, it couldn't be better. By the time Yufan arrived at the Demon Marsh River, many teams had already begun to challenge him. The means are also multifaceted. 8 Gate. In the distance, there is a little loli wearing a big magician hat sitting on a broom, planning to fly through the air. What's outrageous is that there is a rope tied to her broom, and 5 people are hanging from the rope. This little loli's occupation is obviously apprentice of the devil. Only this profession has the ability to fly in the air on a broomstick. When Yufan played Dungeon and Baby Bus in his previous life, he liked this profession very much. After all, who doesn't like the silly, manhole cover? Flying from above is indeed a very simple and normal idea. But they obviously overestimated the flying ability of the small, manhole cover. Seeing that the little loli was exerting all her strength and her face was flushed from holding back, it was obvious that she couldn't pull so many people. Just a few seconds after Yufan looked over, the little loli was exhausted, and 6 of them fell into the swamp river one after another. You must know that there are not only swamps in the marsh river, but also an extremely large number of monsters. Magic swamp Ju, both the second sound. Demon swamp larva, the larva of the swamp mosquito, hatch from the eggs laid by the swamp mosquito in the swamp. The body is slender, and the chest is wider than the head or abdomen. When swimming, the body twists violently left and right, swimming vertically up and down in the water. To put it bluntly, they are oversized mosquito larvae. They don't have too strong attack power, but there are many, very many, densely packed together, and they are still twisting and turning, and they look very disgusting. If someone with cryptophobia sees it, it will probably become a shadow in their life. Not to mention falling into a group of larvae. The little loli screamed, pressed the exit crystal without hesitation, and exited the examination room. Seeing that the only person who could fly was gone, the other 5 people also evacuated. 6 people failed the exam just like this. In addition to this group of people, Yufan also saw the methods of the teams around him that challenged the second ring. Meijiba paved the road with ice and traveled very fast. Qin Meng and his group stayed in a big transparent ball. They were just like playing with the big rollers that floated on the water that Yufan had played in the water park when he was a kid. A group of people inside are running in the same direction, making the big ball roll and move forward. The speed is not bad. This is probably Zhang Xiaoxiao's skill. It was originally used for protection, but now he can use it flexibly. Then there are the most simple Wang Yanyan's team, and Yu Kun's team. The operation of the 2 teams was very simple. One team built a stone ship, and the other team built an iron ship. I don't know what profession in their team created them. Yu Kun's side is an iron boat, and their division of labor is very clear. 2 people are responsible for rowing, and the remaining 3 are responsible for cleaning up the monster swamps that are jumping up around them. The boat was not moving very fast in the somewhat viscous swampy river, but it was moving forward steadily. What Wang Yanyan and the others have here is a stone ship. The stone ship is much worse than the iron ship. But Wang Yanyan is the dragon flame master. She can use dragon flames to create a sea of fire around the hull of the ship. Any bird that is close to the hull will be burned immediately with cracking. So there are more people on their side who can row, and the overall speed is only faster than Yu Kun and others. Oh, Lao Wang, you are a great granddaughter. With your style back then, how about being my grandson's wife? The person using this dragon flame is worthy of being from the Red Demon clan. Quote, it is truly the #1 fire profession in the Dragon Kingdom. It's really amazing that you can have such firepower at level 20 or above. In the viewing room, people from various families were full of praise for Wang Yanyan's performance. Haha, not bad. Wang Yan did not appear very happy with the compliments given by these people. For the past month, he has been looking for the young man who broke his own record in the piling hall. But I have never found it, and I feel very upset. And the person who made Wang Yan so upset was now standing by the river. Yufan looked at the other people's methods and touched his chin. How should I get there? The first thing that came to his mind was the flying thunder god. As long as he can throw a marked object to the opposite side, Yufan can directly flash over with Huang Sikong. Fast and stable, perfect. But the problem is that the swamp river opposite the ring where he is the widest, more than 10 kilometers away. At this distance, no matter how strong you are, it is difficult to throw the kunai to the other side. If you have to do this, you must learn to lead the girl forever, complete the relay in midair, and then keep flashing, and finally reach the other side. To be honest, this operation is so awesome that Yufan can't do it yet. Minato is Minato after all, and some operations cannot be learned casually. The second way is for Yufan to summon Susanoo. Drive the Susanoo and drive straight over. But this method also has a very serious problem. That is, Yufan doesn't know how deep the swamp river is. Although Yufan can now summon Susanoo with legs, even he is not sure it is really tall enough. Alas, it's a bit difficult to handle. Yufan had a headache watching the people around him showing off their magical powers. It would be nice to have Hashirama's wood style at this time. Just build a large wooden bridge over the river that is more than 10 kilometers long, and it will be full of people. Just as Yufan was thinking, he suddenly heard one of Wang Yanyan's teammates shouting loudly in the distance. Sister Yanyan, please hold back a little. Your firepower is too strong. These swamps have solidified, making it difficult to paddle. Okay, I accidentally lost control. Wang Yanyan smiled and said with a hint of pride. It's like those game masters who say, "Oh, I didn't pay attention, and I accidentally tortured you terribly," when they were competing against others. But this gave Yufan a hint. That's right, who said you have to have ice attributes to pave the way? Only then did Yufan realize that he had just fallen into a misunderstanding. Because I saw Mangekyō's method first, I preconceived the idea that ice must be used to pave the way. But in fact, as long as the firepower is strong enough, fire can also pave the way. Just burn the surface dry. Yufan looked at the other of the two skills at level 30 on Madara's template. Fire style. Fire extinguishing, a super wide AoE ninjutsu with a very wide range and one of the strongest fire styles. Form. From a high place downwards, a huge amount of flames are ejected, forming a veritable sea of fire below. Having made up his mind, Yufan no longer hesitated, took out a kunai, marked it with the flying thunder god mark, and then threw it with all his strength into the sky above the marsh river. Although it can't be lost more than 10 kilometers, it is more than enough to lose 2 or 3,000 meters. The kunai flew to the highest point. With a thought, Yufan activated Flying Thunder God and teleported directly to the side of the kunai. Mangekyō was activated instantly, summoning the first stage of Susanoo's ribs, and then the seal in his hand changed rapidly. Fire style. The fire is extinguished. Just like second generation's crazy use of water style in places where there is no water. Yufan almost instantly created a huge sea of fire covering the entire river where there was water. The sound of cracking in the fire is continuous. If we go down all at once, we may have to kill tens of billions of monster marsh eggs. But Yufan didn't have any psychological burden. It has been said that everything has animism, except mosquitoes. I knew it. The sea of fire that Yufan sprayed was too large, and the high temperature reached Mangekyō almost instantly. Mangekyō's mentality immediately cracked, because he clearly felt that the ice road under his feet was beginning to melt. Li Yuan, why are you still holding on? Run away. Do you want to fall into this marshy river? The sea of fire burned for a full 20 minutes before it stopped, and the temperature of the entire area rose. Looking at the surface of the marsh river, it was completely charred and cracked. The dirt mixed with the corpses of the demon marsh gave off an unpleasant smell. Yufan mentioned Huang Sikong and ran away. Although the surface of this swamp river has been dried up, the swamp to the west is still slowly flowing this way. After a while, it will overflow, so we still have to move quickly. Just as he held his nose and crossed the marsh river, Yufan saw Mangekyō and his party crawling out of the marsh river in the distance, covered in mud and extremely embarrassed. Although they had accelerated at full speed, they were still far behind the speed of the heat wave. Li Yuan's extreme cold field, which was activated with level 20 strength, was naturally helpless against Yufan's great fire destruction. For the last 20 meters, a few people basically swam across the swamp river. Just thinking about swimming in a swamp full of mosquito larvae gives you goosebumps. A few of the boys were fine, but some were a little disgusting. The two girls, Mei Yushang and Yu Yanren, were not in good condition. Both of them had pale faces, were trembling all over, and were a little unsteady on their feet. The clothes and equipment were also covered in mud and water and clung tightly to the body. Mangekyō looked in the direction of Yuan angrily, and saw Yufan, the culprit, watching them from a distance like a monkey. Ah, so angry. If I couldn't beat this guy, what the hell? Mangekyō gritted his back molars and made a secret determination in his heart. If he really became a disciple of the sword god, he must regain his place. VIP viewing room on the second floor. The big family members who were praising Wang Yanyan's firepower just now all had their eyes widened, even wondering if they were dreaming. Wow! Dragon Flame Mage. Wang Yan lost his composure and suddenly stood up from his seat, staring at the unimaginably huge sea of fire created by Yufan in the video. He didn't even notice that the chair he was sitting on fell to the ground behind him. This kind of range, this kind of firepower, how is it possible? What kind of profession is this? Wang Yan murmured. It's unmistakable. It must have been this kid who was in the piling room that day. He was even scarier than I thought. To have such firepower at such a young age. Wang Yan couldn't help but sigh. The calmest among everyone is Huang Sikong's father, Huang Jianlin. Those who don't know are fearless. Huang Jianlin's profession is the same as Huang Sikong's. He is a divine eye appraiser, and he has never been in a few fights in his life. All combat professionals are very strong in his eyes and can kill him instantly, so he is not very sensitive to them. For ordinary people, there is essentially no difference whether an RPG falls on the head or a nuclear bomb falls on the head. Do you think I would be afraid if the RPG was replaced by a nuclear bomb? This is awesome. Lao Wang, I'm afraid you won't be able to keep your title of Dragon Flame Mage, the #1 fire profession in the Dragon Kingdom, right? Quote. Huang Jianlin said jokingly. After hearing Huang Jianlin's words, Wang Yan slowly recovered from his shock. He thought for a moment, then shook his head. Impossible. As a veteran, Dragon Flame Mage, who has been awakened for many years, he has a deep understanding of where he is powerful. This masked man does have strong firepower and a ridiculously wide range of attacks, but after all, there is one thing about him that cannot be compared with the Dragon Flame Mage. That is the level of flame. No matter how powerful the flames used by the masked man are, they are just ordinary fires in the end. At most, it's just a mid-range flame. The Dragon Flame of Dragon Flame Mage is the breath fire used by the dragon, and it is an absolute superior flame. There is an unbridgeable gulf between the two. Not only is the upper limit of the upper flames much higher than that of the lower and middle flames, but it also has a natural suppressive effect on them. Therefore, no matter what the profession of this masked man is, from the nature of fire, it cannot be stronger than the Dragon Flame Mage. Even if he is much stronger than Wang Yanyan now, it is because of his own strength and has nothing to do with his profession. Moreover, as the level slowly increased, Wang Yan's advantages as a high-level flame gradually became apparent, and Wang Yanyan might be able to overtake him. Thinking of this, the shock in Wang Yan's heart calmed down a bit. VIP viewing room on the 3rd floor. The principals expressed disbelief at Yufan's great fire extinguishing. They have proctored the college entrance exams for dozens of times, if not more than 100. They have seen this Demon Marsh River many times, and no candidate has ever used this method to cross the river. Roast dry the Marsh River. This is something that a fresh graduate did. Who would believe it if he told it? It simply refreshed their understanding of the upper limit of candidates' strength. They even felt that Yufan didn't need to take any major exams at all. The 6 of them became more interested in Yufan's career, and the discussion became more intense than ever. But they didn't notice that Gao Kasheng's state had undergone some subtle changes. He was the most shocked among them all. Because he knows that Yufan's profession is ninja, and he also knows that his skills were developed by himself. Yufan lied to him and said that he had only developed 3 skills. Therefore, Gao Kasheng always thought that abilities such as summoning beasts, clones, teleportation, space distortion, and hollow were actually just the flexible use of 3 skills. His mind was on fire, and he didn't even understand what the 3 skills developed by Yufan were. It wasn't until Yufan had another huge fire breath just now that he realized that these 3 bullshit skills were all nonsense. Moreover, although Yufan deceived him, he had no intention of pretending and kept using his skills openly. As of now, Gao Kasheng feels that Yufan has used at least 5 skills. This disgusting brat, Gao Kasheng gritted his teeth. But looking at it this way, Yufan's understanding is even more heaven-defying than what he reported to Brother Chang, which is definitely a good thing. Yufan's value is greater than he thought. On the image in front of the viewing room, Yufan and Huang Sikong arrived at the middle of the trial area. The 2 of them looked at the woods in front of them with curiosity. It was a strange, burning forest. This kind of burning is not the kind of burning like when Yufan set fire to the Monkey Valley. Compared to the brutal destruction, this flame gave Yufan a feeling of vitality. The flames swaying on the branches were just like the leaves of the trees. Not only does it not have any mushy smell, but it also exudes bursts of fragrance from time to time. What? Wang Xing, who had been looking at the image, exclaimed. Why did the volcano forest appear? Quote, Volcanic Forest is a level 30 high difficulty dungeon. Everyone who plays this copy will be deeply impressed by it. This copy is in a burning forest. Just being able to fight in the woods without being harmed by the flames has already stumped a large number of people. And the monster in this copy is an entire family of fire monkeys. There are the underage, little fire monkey, the young, fire monkey, the adult, flame orangutan, and the boss, demon flame orangutan. These monkeys can move freely in the volcanic forest and are not affected by the fire at all. Not only are they flexible and aggressive, but what's even more outrageous is that they can all use elementalization. Attacks without attribute effects cannot cause damage to them. And not just any attribute will do. Generally speaking, ice attributes are the best, followed by light and dark attributes, and fire attributes are the worst. It's Rongguan, Gao Kasheng said calmly. The so-called fusion refers to the situation where Tiandao merges the levels of the trial land with the previous wild area and turns it into a copy to test the challenger. Its difficulty is much higher than the normal level. That's why Gao Kasheng said at the beginning that this year might be more difficult. But even if he had predicted it in advance, he never expected that there would be a copy of Volcanic Forest that was extremely difficult for high-level players. It's quite interesting. Now let me see how you can deal with it. Gao Kasheng became interested, looked at Yufan in the video and said to himself. Judging from the current situation, Yufan has no attribute attacks other than the fire attribute. Yufan stepped forward and tried to put his hand on the burning tree. Hiss. A burning sensation instantly came from the palm of my hand, and it seemed to be a normal high-temperature flame. It's really amazing, can't these trees be burned down like this? Yufan said to himself. Since it is a real flame, it seems that if you want to pass through this forest, you must wear it. Yufan looked around and found that Meijiba and the others were already preparing fireproof covers. Everyone carries a shell that emits white light. This should be Yu Yanren's light prayer skill, Yufan guessed. However, there are incomparable to Yufan's. Yufan's are 0.01 and feel more real. Susanoo. Yufan opened the Mangekyō Sharingan and summoned the half-length Susanoo, shrouding the two of them. This was the first time Huang Sikong entered Susanoo's interior. I didn't feel it when I looked at it from the outside, but when I really entered it, a cold and evil feeling hit my face. After all, according to the people of second generation, the Uchiha clan is an evil clan. Once inside the flame forest, the temperature of the entire environment rose sharply, and a layer of fine beads of sweat instantly appeared on Yufan's forehead. Yufan frowned slightly. In this high temperature, he had to pass through the woods quickly, otherwise his body would easily become dehydrated. Just when Yufan was thinking, suddenly there was a bang sound, and something hit Yufan's Susanoo. Yufan took a closer look and saw a gorilla whose whole body was burning with flames like the surrounding trees. What the hell is this? There are really all kinds of strange things in this trial place. Yufan controlled Susanoo and grabbed the gorilla. Puff! Susan's big hand seemed to have grasped a ball of flame, and the gorilla escaped completely. But once you take your hand away, it immediately condenses into the shape of a gorilla. Elementalize. Yufan reacted immediately. Is it actually the elementalization of the fire element? It is best to use water style to counter the elementalization of fire. Unfortunately, he has not spent any money to buy any water style skills. It would be great if there was water style water dragon bomb at this time. Yufan had a lot of thoughts in his mind. When you go to college, set up a guild and compile the skills that can be sold into a system and sell them. You will definitely make a lot of money. When the time comes, you must buy a character template for each escape technique. To avoid being like now, where I need a specific attribute to attack, but I don't have it. Yufan made up his mind. As for the gorilla in front of him now, Yufan decided to ignore it. Anyway, his goal was just to pass through the woods, and this gorilla couldn't break Susanoo's defense. Yufan controlled Susan and started to move forward on his own. Seeing Yufan's reaction, a very human smile appeared on the face of the blazing orangutan. It knows that Yufan has no attribute attacks that can restrain them. Ah, ha, ah, ha, a high and sharp cry came from the mouth of the flaming gorilla. After a while, monkey heads popped out of the fire tree. There are big and small, with different shapes, and their bodies are all burning with flames. At a glance, there are hundreds of them. Before Yufan could react, the gorilla that had just come to test him yelled again. Then I saw these fire monkeys and started charging towards Yufan. They even have a tactical division of labor. The medium-sized monkey is responsible for hugging the tree tightly and hanging its tail. The little monkeys and the big monkeys are swinging between the trees at very high speeds, holding their tails. Bang, 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 attacks rained down on Susanna. Not only was Yufan unable to move forward, he was even knocked back a few steps. Everyone in the stands could not help but sigh secretly when they saw this scene. Although this masked man is strong, it seems that he has to stop here. He is afraid that he will fail the challenge. Mainly because of bad luck, I encountered such a level that was so unfriendly to fire attribute professionals. Just when everyone thought Yufan had no choice but to quit, Yufan made a move. Yufan raised his head, his blood-colored pupils filled with light. The next second, the blue Susanoo began to burn, and the flames began to spread until it enveloped the entire Susanoo. And the color of this flame is black. Amaterasu. The sudden change stunned a flaming orangutan that was about to collide. It looked at the blazing black flames on the enemy in front of it with some confusion. Why is fire this color? After thinking for a moment, its monkey brain came up with an answer. The black flame is also fire. If it is fire, it is your own responsibility. It no longer hesitated, and after a gorgeous and beautiful parabola, it punched Susanna. There was no doubt that Amaterasu's black inflammation was infected on its hands. The flaming gorilla looked at the black flames on his hands and was confused. After a few seconds, oh, ooh, ooh. It jumped up and down and waved its hands, making the same sound as when Tom Cat's tail was on fire. But it soon discovered that this black flame could not be shaken off no matter how hard it was, and it was still spreading upwards rapidly. It suddenly panicked, its brain spinning rapidly. Find the Monkey King. It immediately decided that the Monkey King has the strongest ability to control flames, so it must have a way. After making up its mind, the smart flaming orangutan immediately took action. It began to use its Amaterasu stained paw to grab the tails of other monkeys and move quickly. Other monkeys. It goes without saying how contagious Amaterasu is. Just a little bit of it will burn the whole thing, or it won't stop. Oh, ooh, ooh. Oh, ooh, ooh. The entire forest suddenly became like purgatory. The screams of the monkeys came and went one after another. The monkey infected by the black inflammation started to spread to other monkeys. Amaterasu's black flames were spread everywhere by these monkeys, and no tree was spared. Black flames lick everything, and the flames devour the flames. Wang Yan stared at the large black sea of fire through the video in the viewing room, dumbfounded. Just now, I was saying that the flames used by Yufan were just ordinary fires, not as good as the dragon flames of their Dragon Flame Mage. Yufan immediately taught him a lesson. This black flame is undoubtedly a superior flame. No, using superior flames is not enough to describe it. Currently, the mainstream high-level flames in the world are the Dragon Flame of the Dragon Kingdom and the Divine Fire of the West. But neither his Dragon Flame nor the Divine Fire of the West can burn on top of the flames like this black flame. This is really incredible. It was as if it was swallowing other flames. Unheard of. Roar. At the back of the forest, a gorilla with dark brown flames burning all over its body and several times the size of the flame orangutan let out a huge roar. There is no other reason. The smart flaming orangutan who arrived first just now had Amaterasu's black flames applied to it. And it's still on the head. Yufan, who was following closely, couldn't hold back when he saw this scene. Well, he didn't even need to do it himself. This smart flaming gorilla had already killed all his teammates. For Yufan to pass the level so easily, his great cleverness must be the first credit. Oh, just let me pass and it's over. I have to fight. Ha 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 ha. Uchiha laughs wildly. When Yufan and Huang Xikong came out of the volcanic forest, the overall color of the volcanic forest had changed from bright yellow to black. Before long, this forest will disappear completely, not even ashes will be left. The other teams seemed to be still struggling, with Yufan and Huang Xikong being the first to come out. Why are there no levels? Huang Xikong looked at the door in front of him, which was dozens of meters high. He knew that this was the entrance to the road to heaven. It should be related to the copy just now, Yufan said calmly, looking at a huge stone monument as high as the gate next to the gate. At this moment, a huge 9 is displayed on the top of the stone tablet. This means that at this moment, 9 people in the entire Dragon Kingdom have successfully crossed the trial ground and begun to challenge the road to heaven. The names and occupations of these 9 people are now listed on the stone tablet under the number 9. The points behind the occupations are displayed. The ranking is not fixed, but constantly changes as the points change. At this moment, the rankings of the 9 people are constantly alternating up and down. The frequency of alternation among the latter few is pretty good. The frequency of alternation among the top 3 was ridiculously fast, with the rankings changing almost every second, and the smell of gunpowder was quite strong. The moment Yufan looked over, the rankings of the 3 people were: 1. Ma Shaoshan, Hunyuan Xingyi Boxing Master, points, 61,755. 2. Huang Shaoshan, Sword Soul, points, 61,509. 3. Zhao Mango, Void Sea Spirit, points, 61,229. It's quite fast. Yufan smiled and said that he cleared the volcanic forest so smoothly that there were actually 9 people faster than him, which was a bit unexpected. However, this was mainly because Yufan wasted too much time looking for the Goblin General at the outermost edge. Otherwise, he should be the first to enter the road to heaven. But it doesn't really matter, the result is the same. Yufan now possesses AoE skills, and he is more than capable of killing monsters. Boss, let's go in, Huang Xikong said excitedly. Yufan nodded, then squatted down and slapped the ground, summoning technique. The white smoke around him exploded with a bang, 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 and 8 bull-headed giant beast lords, a wooden monkey lord, and a large Yanjia giant slowly appeared. Yufan went to the mountains to help Huang Xikong do this 2 days before the college entrance examination. Huang Xikong is a life profession, not an auxiliary combat profession. He cannot enter the road to heaven with Yufan, he can only enter it by himself. Of course, Yufan couldn't help him for no reason. The two had already agreed that Yufan would help Huang Xikong take the exam, and Huang Xikong would work for Yufan for 4 years. Yufan will definitely open a guild and sell his skills to make a lot of money in the future, but he doesn't want to deal with those messy things by himself. Then Huang Xikong's family is the Chamber of Commerce, and he knows much better than himself. Let him do it, and you can just publish the skills and collect money. This is probably a good thing. Yufan only needs to think about how much each skill will cost and how to sell it. And the matter itself is not a big deal. With Yufan's strength, going to catch some monsters in the mountains is no different from going to catch a few chickens in the yard. Just help Huang Xikong feel proud of this licking dog, and he can earn 4 years of labor for nothing. Win-win. Boss, thank you. Huang Xikong excitedly opened his eyes, and then used the purple demonic eyes to control all these monsters. Then he took the wooden monkey lord and sat on the Yan family giant. In order to allow Huang Xikong to enter the same university as himself and to work better for himself, the configuration Yufan provided for Huang Xikong can be said to be very explosive. The 8 Tauren Beast Lords are all between level 26 and 28. They are warriors responsible for charging and killing. The level 25 Wooden Monkey Lord is responsible for using the wooden cannon to carry out long-range attacks, which is equivalent to a shooter. The level 28 inches Yanjia Giant is the tank responsible for protecting Huang Xikong and the Wooden Monkey Lord. With this lineup, anyone who controls it can achieve good results. What's more, in order to ensure that nothing went wrong, Yufan burned a great fire extinguishment into Huang Xikong's free eye. The other eye is the lightsaber Grandmaster that was burned into it before. He also carries the remaining Aurora sword on his body, which can be drawn out and used when necessary. Looking at the fully armed Huang Sikong, Yu Fan let out a sigh of relief. Alas, it's not easy to be your own boss. I guess that's all it takes to raise a son, right? Where else can you find such a conscientious boss? Okay, you go in first. Yu Fan pointed to the door. The person who enters first will be judged as the 10th person to enter the Dragon Kingdom, and will receive the bottom score of the 10th place, which will be higher than the bottom score of the 11th place. Huang Sikong hesitated for a moment, then nodded, okay. He knew that Yu Fan didn't need such a little bit of background. Huang Sikong's figure disappeared into the door and disappeared. The next second, the number on the top of the steel changed to 10 inches, and Huang Sikong's name also appeared in the 10th position of the steel. Huang Sikong, Divine Eye Appraiser, points, 55,000. Hee. Yu Fan smiled, not knowing what the other school's people would think when they saw a Divine Eye Appraiser appear on the ranking list. Then, Yu Fan's figure turned into a blur and disappeared from where he was. 11. Yu Fan, Ninja, points, 54,500. Tip: host enters a special copy of Heavenly Tao. Monsters contain pure Heavenly Tao power, which can be absorbed after killing to increase physical strength. As soon as Yu Fan entered the road to heaven, the system immediately popped up a large section of content. Improve physical strength. Is there such a good thing? Yu Fan immediately became alert. He already had a bit of PTSD. Facts have proved that every time he has the illusion that the system is going to give me a big benefit, there must be a big pit behind it. And it's still a big pit that I have to jump into. How? How to absorb it? Yu Fan asked tentatively. You need to purchase the top-level growth-producing technique, 8 inner gates, first. Yu Fan laughed immediately. Ridiculous, if he could afford it, Laozi would have bought it already, right? Anyone who has watched Hokage doesn't know that 8 inner gates is awesome. But selling it for 80 million is too outrageous. Exactly 10 million per door, right? Flying Thunder God only has 30 million. Shit, you're talking nonsense. Laozi only has 500 points coupons, how can I buy them? Otherwise, you can give me a discount and sell it to me for 500 points. What do you think? Host, please don't always think about shit. Then you come out and tell me something. Laozi can't afford it, do you understand? Yu Fan makes a poor man's voice. This system has always adhered to the principle of sharing the host's worries and providing humanized services. For the host's current predicament, this system can provide a solution. What plan? Yu Fan's face was expressionless. He knew very well that this dog system, which was in the same vein as a certain penguin, would never be able to hold back any good words. This system can provide host with loan services for purchasing skills. Seeing this line of text that popped up, Yu Fan laughed out loud. Well, the numbers are really exactly the same, right? Laozi had to bear mortgage and car loans in his previous life for the rest of his life. Now I have traveled here. Then continue to memorize. Skill loan, right? Yu Fan resisted the urge to curse and asked, how do you get a loan and how do you calculate the interest rate? The interest rate is 40% per annum and can be repaid in advance. When repaying in advance, the interest will be calculated in proportion. Ha 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 ha, it's a loan shark. Chapter 61. Why do you think I would lend you a loan shark? Yu Fan said that loan sharking is not allowed. This is something he knew very well in his previous life. The 8 inner gates skill is special and requires physical strength that is beyond the reach of ordinary people. It is necessary to increase physical strength with the help of the power of heaven, but copies of heaven are very rare. If host seizes this opportunity, it can be greatly improved. 8 inner gates, cultivation speed. The system's answer was simple and unpretentious, but it captured Yu Fan's heart very accurately. After all, Hokage is a passionate comic, and among all the characters, who can be more passionate than me, Mr. Guy? As long as you are a Hokage fan, who hasn't watched Night Guy dozens of times and almost kicked out the finale? Now is the time to protect what is most important to you even to the death. The blue beast of Konoha disappears from now on, and it's time to transform into a red beast. 8 inner gates formation. Death door, open. Night Guy, burn it. To be honest, Yu Fan's original plan was to go to college and establish a guild. After making money, he would save up 500 million and directly join the Guy Emperor template. You know, the Kaihuang template not only has 8 inner gates, but also has a lot of awesome skills that match 8 inner gates, such as Outer Lotus, Inner Lotus, Chow Peacock, Day Tiger, Evening Elephant, Yi Gai, etc. In addition, there are powerful physical techniques such as Leaf Hurricane and Leaf Strong Whirlwind. Each of these skills costs tens or hundreds of millions to purchase individually. Using 500 million to acquire them all is undoubtedly the most cost-effective. Unexpectedly, this happened suddenly. But now the system has said that even if the 8 inner gates is given to him, he cannot use it immediately. He must have high enough physical strength. Thinking about the ninjutsu effect of 8 inner gates, it's not that Yufan can't understand it. System, if I buy 8 inner gates with a loan now, to which gate can I increase my physical strength in this copy? Yufan asked. You can open to the 3rd gate, Sheng Gate, or the 4th gate, Injury Gate. What if I don't rely on the power of heaven to increase my physical strength? 20 hours of high-intensity exercise every day can open all 8 inner gates in 20 years. Forehead, aren't you afraid that I won't be able to pay you back if you lend me such a high-interest loan? After professional evaluation, host has the ability to pay off within a certain period of time. Then you're not afraid that I won't pay you back. As long as it belongs to the host's wealth, this system can forcefully deduct fees. It is very user-friendly and the host does not need to worry. The corner of Yufan's mouth twitched slightly. What a forced deduction. You are much better than those who violently collect money. Thoughts were racing through his mind. Although the interest on the 80 million is as high as 40 points per year, he actually does not need to delay it for a whole year. Meijiba still owes him 72 million, and he can find a way to get it back as soon as the college entrance examination is over. Then I'll get some equipment and sell it, and then I'll be able to get it all together. In other words, by spending this little interest money, I can increase my physical strength to the point where I can open the 4th gate of the 8 inner gates. Yufan gritted his teeth and said, Mater, charge. Besides, even if you step back 10,000 steps and you can't afford the money, it doesn't matter. As long as I don't have a penny, the system can't do anything to me. Come on, how about a loan? Sign the contract, or something. No need to worry, host agrees and it takes effect immediately. Skills Loan Service, effective. 8 inner gates, has been placed in your skill slot. Yufan looked at his skill bar, and sure enough he found a skill icon with a villain whose whole body erupted with air waves. Huh, didn't you say it can't be used? Why is this skill icon on? Yufan discovered that the 8 inner gates icon was actually lit there. With a thought, he triggered the 8 inner gates, and opened the first door. Open the door. Boom! An unimaginable force surged crazily into Yufan's limbs, and blood surged throughout his body, as if he had endless strength. Yufan even felt that in his current state, he could kill the dragon goblin directly with his physical body. But the next second, severe stinging and tearing sensations erupted from the whole body at the same time. Yufan felt for a moment as if countless nuns were pricking him with needles, and for a moment he felt as if he was being torn apart by 5 horses. Not allowing him to think too much, Yufan quickly closed the 8 inner gates. Who? Yufan held his knees with both hands, sweating profusely and gasping for air. What on earth is going on? Host's current physical condition is not yet able to use 8 inner gates. Then why is the skill on? The 8 inner gates skill can be forcibly upgraded by 1 gate. Host can now forcibly use the 1st gate. So that's it, Yufan nodded. But when he thought of the feeling just now, Yufan couldn't help but shuddered. What if I just used 8 inner gates to kill a few monsters here? If you use it forcefully, you will definitely be seriously injured and it will take at least a month to recover. The corners of Yufan's eyes twitched. He had better forget about this forced use. As a gentleman, if someone doesn't want to, it's better not to use force. After all, forceful melons are not sweet. Quack, hoa, quote. After all this fiddling with the system, it has been 3 or 4 minutes since Yufan entered the road to heaven. A large number of monsters continue to emerge from the portal, and now they have crowded the entire road to heaven. And Yufan's ranking dropped from 11th to hundreds. There are many candidates in the Dragon Kingdom, so in 3 or 4 minutes, so many more people entered the road to heaven. If I kill him directly now, I can gain the power of heaven to strengthen my body, right? Yes. Okay, then let me kill. Huh, what is this? Just as Yufan was about to take action, he suddenly noticed a constantly beating number appearing in the upper left corner of his field of vision. 80 million, 80,100,000, 80,200,000, 80,300,000. What is this? This is the money owed by host. Yufan, your thing is still calculated in real time. Seriously, system, don't be so ridiculous. This is also a measure of the humanized service of this system, which allows the host to always know how much money it owes. Humanity is a hammer. Ma's personalized service, right? Every moment you can see that the money you owe is increasing. This feeling is really like a light on my back. No matter what, I feel uncomfortable. Yufan looked at the army of monsters rushing toward him with an annoyed look on his face, and Mangekyō suddenly lit up. Tiandao, don't blame me. The dog system sucks my blood like this. Then I can only suck your blood to get my money back. Susanoo. This is the first time Yufan has fully used Susanoo after his eye power increased to over 7,000. The nearly 100-meter-tall blue giant rises from the ground, standing like a mountain at the starting point of the road to the sky. Yufan stood in the crystal above the giant's head, looking down at the matchbox-like monsters below. Of course, 100 meters tall is far from the true form of the complete Susanoo. The complete body Susanoo used by Madara can reach a terrifying 207 meters in height, and even the sword in her hand is 129 meters long. Complete body Susan. You know, the total length of the first section of the road to heaven is only a mere 300 meters. Most of the monsters spawned here are low-level goblins and cat demons. They are not strong and are only better in numbers. But what Yufan is least afraid of is too many monsters. Susanoo raised her big foot, which was tens of thousands of meters tall, and stepped on it hard. Boom! There was a roar, and smoke and dust were everywhere on the ground. The goblins and cat demons were so shocked that they flew up. Not to mention the monsters that were stepped on. Even the monsters that were shocked by the aftermath immediately started to bleed from their mouths and noses, and their heart and lungs were broken. At the moment when the monster is killed, a soft white light emerged from the monsters' bodies. The white light slowly gathered together in the air, and was then sucked into Yufan's body. Yufan's whole body trembled. Yeah, what's going on? This is so cool. Yufan exclaimed in surprise. It was a very magical feeling, as if the body was being cleansed from the inside out, and all the discomfort disappeared in an instant. The body becomes extremely light, as if wearing heavy cotton clothes for a long time suddenly puts on light spring clothes. Crazy secretion of dopamine. This is a feeling of comfort that cannot be described in words. If you insist on comparing it, it may be more refreshing than making love over and over again. Humans are hormone-controlled creatures. Driven by this feeling of pleasure, Yufan almost unconsciously raised his foot again, and then stamped it down again. The feeling of pleasure came again. Yufan found that the more he killed at once, the better he felt. The great fire is extinguished. Amaterasu. Kamui. Quote. Yufan is like a giant fully automatic turret, frantically harvesting the lives of monsters. The monsters on the road were quickly killed. So, Yufan ran directly to the black portals where monsters appeared and waited. He threw several rounds of Amaterasu into each portal. The monsters in the portal are often burned to ashes by the black flames before their entire body is exposed, and turn into a white light and fly towards Yufan. For a moment, there were only a few light and shadows in front of the portals, but not a single monster could be seen on the spacious road to the sky. VIP viewing room, 3rd floor. When Yufan flashed into the road to heaven, all the principals felt it was difficult to breathe, as if the blood in their entire bodies was about to solidify. The ranking stone tablets on the road to heaven are classified as level 3 secrets and are not shown to ordinary people. But as an examiner, you can see it on the 3rd floor of this VIP viewing room. Therefore, the principals already knew Yufan's name and occupation. They discussed countless possible professions, but no one suggested that Yufan's profession might be ninja. The principals are all over 50 years old, and they have all reached level 40 or above for many years. Although the small country of Neon regards his skills as more important than his life and is unwilling to reveal them. But after several battles between strong men, the masters of Dragon Kingdom already knew the difference. After all, the occupations and skills in this world are like the various weapons in Yufan's previous life. Which country has developed what kind of weapon, and whether it is powerful or not, is everyone's favorite topic of discussion. These principles are naturally no exception. And precisely because they knew it, no one thought about it. Ninja, how can this be? Where did the ninja get these skills? Even that old dog Kushida Deokuma doesn't have these skills. Quote, but the stone tablets on the road to heaven are absolutely impossible to make mistakes. But, is it possible? Hiss. There were gasps of air conditioning throughout the viewing room. General, it's impossible for him to develop all these skills by himself in this month, right? Li Chudao said tremblingly. One stone stirs up 1,000 waves. There was an explosion in the viewing room. Ninja is a rare profession. It is one of the most difficult professions to develop skills. If you can develop a skill, it can be called amazing understanding. And Yufan was able to develop so many in 1 month. The future of this student is simply immeasurable. With his presence, Neon can no longer stand up in front of the Dragon Kingdom. From now on, offense and defense have changed. The principal of Baikang No. 1 Middle School's voice trembled. Whose general is this? Li Chudao and Chu Deji turned to look at Wang Xing. A month ago, they transferred from 3 high schools in Nanchang together. As for the biggest surprise, it must be that Yufan, who ranked first in Nanchang No. 1 Middle School, changed his profession and became a ninja. Everyone who was present at that time probably still remembers it fresh. Wang Xing was completely confused now. On the one hand, he was shocked by Yufan's understanding and talent. On the other hand, he was also a little confused. Is this person really Yufan? This kid used to look like a normal person, why did he suddenly become like this? Yufan's grades are the best in the school. How could he not know the rules of the trial ground? Wang Xing was puzzled. Could it be that I went crazy because I was so stimulated by the job change and became a ninja? Genius is on the left, madman is on the right. After going crazy, Yufan's talent and understanding were further stimulated, so he was able to develop so many skills. The more Wang Xing thought about it, the more it made sense. This is a big discovery. I will go back and write an academic paper to study this matter. The 3 principals in Baikang, seeing the reactions of the people in Nanchang, naturally knew where Yufan was from. They looked at Wang Xing with strange expressions. How come such a monster is a student from Nanchang and not from Baikang? In this way, Nanchang may have to suppress their northern city for a while. I said, what the hell is this kid doing? Li Chudao looked at the image and said strangely. In the image, Yufan stood at the starting point of the road to heaven, motionless. Monsters kept pouring out of the portal, almost completely surrounding him, and there were still more and more. Several people couldn't help but look at Wang Xing. Wang Xing shrugged. Don't look at me, I don't understand at all. Wang Xinged his heart. I'm afraid this little guy is really crazy. Alas, I don't know if this is a blessing in disguise. I said, is this guy planning to keep killing monsters on the first stretch of road? Li Chudao turned around and asked. He was already numb today. A few minutes ago, Yufan was motionless. The ranking plummeted from 11th place. As a result, he suddenly summoned a giant hundreds of meters tall and started killing monsters. All 6 principals were shocked. This giant is simply ridiculously strong. Several principals even felt that if they faced the blue giant alone, their lives would be in great danger. Not to mention these low-level monsters on the first section of the road to heaven. Basically, with a wave of your hand, a bunch of people died. But soon everyone discovered a problem. Yufan had been killing the monsters in the first stage and had no intention of moving forward. Why is this? Most people would never choose this way of fighting. This way of fighting directly gives up a lot of distance points. And no matter how weak the monsters in front are, killing them still requires stamina and energy. Naturally, weak monsters will get fewer points, so this exam method is not worth the gain. Generally only those candidates who are unable to move forward will choose this method. In a situation like Yufan's, the best way is to rush forward regardless of these monsters. The 5 principals except Wang Xing looked at Wang Xing with contempt. This old guy didn't even explain this clearly. He is really misleading. What a shame such a genius is in his school. Wang Xingda's face was full of dark lines. He knew that these old guys would not believe what he said now. What they didn't know was that the reason why Yufan didn't leave was very simple. Cannot stop. It's so comfortable, my body starts to move on its own and I can't stop. Just like that, about 5 minutes later, Yufan looked at the portal in confusion. What's going on? Why aren't you weird? Also confused are the 6 principals who have been paying attention to Yufan. What's the situation? The blame has been wiped out. Several people looked at Gao Kasheng, who had always maintained an attitude of, it's just a small scene, I'm not shocked at all. Theoretically, the monsters on the road to heaven do have a maximum value, but judging from the physical strength and energy of the candidates, basically there should be no limit. Gao Kasheng said calmly. No end. Li Chudao pointed at the portal in front of Yufan. Isn't this just the end of the road? Gao Kasheng helplessly spread his hands. Well, this should be considered a special situation. His knowledge is much higher than that of several principals, and he can also see some of the special characteristics of Yufan's black flame. Now the monster has been killed directly, it must be related to the black flame. Maybe it was because of the black flames that burned the portal. Oh my god, look at Yufan's points. I don't know who screamed. Everyone turned to look at the ranking stone and found that Yufan had actually rushed from over 200 to 26th. The words 87,100 are clearly displayed on the points behind the profession. So tall, you actually scored more than 87,000 points just by defeating monsters in the first stage. Everyone was amazed. You know, the people in front of Yufan have at least reached the 3rd or even 4th stage of the journey and gained a lot of distance points, so they can have such high points. In the video, Yufan, who had killed all the monsters, finally moved. Kill monsters, kill monsters, kill monsters. I feel so uncomfortable if I don't kill monsters. It feels like there are ants crawling all over my body. Brother Gang is serious. Soon, Yufan came to the location of the mini-boss in the first section of the road to heaven. A space vortex dozens of meters high slowly appeared, and then a monster with brown patterns all over its body, an umbrella-shaped object on its head, and 4 strange little feet under its body poked out from it, a mushroom monster. Mushroom monster. Mushroom monsters and twisted tree spirits are both plant-type monsters, but their strength is far stronger than twisted tree spirits. Mushroom monsters have the characteristics of mushrooms, and the level limit is extremely high. No matter how high the level of mushroom monster is, it is possible to appear. But the most powerful thing about it is its innate passive skill, Mushroom Shield. Mushroom Shield. The mushroom monster's unique defensive skill can withstand all physical and magical damage. As long as the shield is not broken, the mushroom monster cannot be harmed. There are only 2 ways to break the mushroom shield. One is to use an attack that exceeds the strength of the mushroom monster by 10 levels or more to destroy it. The second is to attack continuously with fire attribute attacks to break it. Because the mini-bosses in the first section of the Road to Heaven are 100% mushroom monsters, candidates who do not have fire attribute attacks usually buy a dozen Molotov cocktails to break the mushroom shield. The mushroom monster walked out of the space vortex, and it habitually lowered its head and looked down. After all, with its height of tens of meters, few opponents can be bigger than it. So, it saw a pair of oversized feet. The mushroom monster was stunned for a moment, and then his eyes slowly moved up, finally landing on Yufan. Mushroom monster. What is this stuff? Looking at the energy shield around the mushroom monster's body, Yufan naturally knew what it was. He didn't bother to form any seals anymore, and with a red light in his eyes, he shot the mushroom monster, Amatras. The black flame instantly burned through the mushroom shield and then wrapped around the mushroom monster's body like maggots attached to bones. The mushroom monster made a sizzling sound, and at the same time there was the aroma of roasted mushrooms. Unfortunately, there was no peppercorns and cumin, so it was still a little bit inferior after all. Well, you are a quasi-boss after all. If I kill you with Amaterasu, you will not die unjustly. Quote, you must be the one who died in the most spectacular manner among all the mushroom monsters. Yufan said calmly. Mushroom monster. Listen to me, thank you, because of you. As soon as Yufan's voice fell, the poor mushroom monster turned into a pile of ashes. A white light that was much larger than the little monster in front emerged from it and poured into Yufan's body. Click. The moment the feeling of relief hit him, Yufan felt something inside him break. That is the shackles that humans are born with, a kind of shackles, something that God specially added in order to restrict humans. At this time, Yufan broke free from this first layer of restraint. He can now use the first gate of 8 inner gates to open normally. After crossing the first section of the road to heaven and killing the stage boss, Mushroom Monster, Yufan instantly gained more than 1,000 points, reaching 88,900 points. The ranking has also reached the 20th position. There are also advantages to having more monsters, not only more points, but also more power of heaven. However, maybe among all the candidates for the Dragon Kingdom examination, only Yufan would think this is a benefit. I said, this kid, is he trying to become the number 1 in the Dragon Kingdom? Chu Deji suddenly said. As soon as these words came out, the 6 principals were shocked and instantly became heated and intolerable. Is our Luo city going to have a Dragon Kingdom champion? That's too shameless. Yufan crossed over the place where the mushroom monster fell and entered the second section of the road to heaven. Buzz buzz wang. The moment Yufan stepped into it, portals several times the number in the first section appeared at both ends of the road to heaven, which was quite oppressive. Not only has the number of portals increased, but the monsters that appear from the portals have also changed. It is no longer the cat monsters and goblins that appear in the Grand Forest, but the dragons, little flying dragons, stone giants, and golds of various colors in the Sky Castle area. Stone giant, and so on. But for Yufan, it's actually the same. It's just a difference between stepping on it a few more times and kicking it a few more times. When you have decided to use nuclear bombs to strike a certain area. So it makes no difference to you whether there are 100 ordinary people or 10,000 Dwayne Johnson in this area. After only a few minutes, Yufan cleared the first wave of monsters that came out of the portal. Then start the same operation as in the first paragraph, block the door to kill monsters, and throw Amaterasu into the door. In the VIP viewing room, several principals were already a little surprised by Yufan's operation. They already knew very well that Yufan would not leave until he killed all the monsters. Looking at Yufan's crazy rising points, several principals even felt that if he was strong enough, this would be the optimal solution to the road to heaven and he could get the most points. After all, in order to fully demonstrate the strength of each candidate, the big exam does not set a time limit. Whoever has the ability can always earn points in it. Just because the distance points are much more than the points for killing monsters, this situation gradually formed where all the participants were killing monsters while rushing forward quickly. Yufan's one-sided massacre is a bit boring. His actions always give Gao Kasheng the illusion of a naughty child stepping into a puddle. Although this naughty kid is a 100-meter tall giant, it really lacks the beauty of fighting. Gao Kasheng turned his head towards the light screen where Huang Sikong was, and was surprised to find that Huang Sikong, a professional guy, actually fought quite smoothly. Compared with others, Huang Sikong actually has a big advantage. Yufan pushed all the way, and he followed behind, reaching the road to the sky without spending any energy. This is just like a physical fitness test. There is a difference between asking you to run 1,000 meters before jumping rope and directly testing the jump rope. Huang Sikong's style of play was much more normal. He did not obsess about killing monsters, but moved forward while killing monsters. He arranged 7 bull-headed beast lords in an arrow-like formation. The highest level 28 one is at the front, and then there are 3 on each side. Just like the formation of wild geese during migration. The last remaining one was placed behind him in case a monster came around to attack him. Very stable. Huang Sikong himself sat on the Yanjia giant, together with the wooden monkey lord. He controlled the wooden monkey to continuously fire wooden cannons. Fight wherever there are many monsters to help the Minotaur lord relieve the pressure of advancement. It feels like playing a special tower defense game. Relying on this style of play, Huang Sikong easily broke through the mushroom monster in the first stage and the Lord of the City of Light in the second stage. Although he can't beat Yufan in terms of points, he has already left Yufan behind in terms of distance. After all, Yu Fan is still on the second stage and wants to drive all the dragons away. In the viewing room, Gao Kasheng looked at Huang Sikong's playing style and nodded slightly. Huang Sikong's style of play reminded him of the summoner profession. The situation of this profession is very delicate, because during battle, a large number of special creatures must be summoned and controlled to fight. Therefore, battles involving summoners are often very chaotic and difficult to direct, and the efficiency will be greatly reduced. Therefore, many people are unwilling to accept a summoner to join the team when they form a team to play a dungeon. However, once a completely unknown new copy appears and people are needed to open up Wasteland, the situation is completely different. The summoner instantly went from being a nuisance to everyone's dad. Just because the fighting method of summoner is so suitable for land reclamation. A large number of summoned objects poured into the dungeon at once. Monster mechanisms, dungeon traps, and the like were all triggered by the summoned objects, making it clear at a glance. And although the attack is slow, the summoner can always slowly kill all the monsters and then come out of the dungeon. Safety is also ensured, but although they are similar, Huang Sikong's monsters are obviously not summoned from other spaces like the summoner, but a real wild monster. Gao Kasheng knew the profession of divine eye appraiser very well. It was a living profession, and it was absolutely impossible for him to have the ability to control wild monsters. Gao Kasheng narrowed his eyes and took a closer look at the third eye on Huang Sikong's forehead and the purple light emanating from it. This thing was most likely created by that boy Yu Fan. He muttered. Huang Sikong has been following Yu Fan. If he wants to say that this has nothing to do with Yu Fan, he will never believe it even to death. Is he now able to develop skills across professions? Even with Gao Kasheng's knowledge, he couldn't help but be shocked. Not many people in the entire Dragon Kingdom knew that people with extremely high savvy could develop skills across professions. Because only 4 people have succeeded in the history of Dragon Kingdom, and the skills developed are not very useful in actual combat. But the skill Huang Sikong used was different. The upper limit of this skill was simply ridiculously high. If this skill's control over wild monsters can be improved as the level increases. After the level increases, wouldn't it be invincible to use it to control those big ferocious beasts? Every time a beast wave comes, I will directly use a skill to control your strongest beast. Turn your strongest fighting power into my fighting power. How can the beast tide attack if the tide of beasts is ebbing and flowing? Gao Kasheng was immersed in his own fantasy. Although the fighting style is good, I'm afraid this is the end. Li Chudao didn't know when he also looked at the light screen on Huang Sikong's side. Gao Kasheng came to his senses and realized that Huang Sikong seemed to be in big trouble in the third section. The monsters that appear in this section are all aquatic monsters in the ocean, among which octopus monsters are the most common. Ordinary octopus monsters had no effect on Huang Sikong's formation, and they were still killed by the Tauren Beast Lord. But among these octopus monsters there is a very special upgraded species, the Cursed Black Octopus. The Cursed Black Octopus is less than 1/10 the size of an ordinary octopus. But its speed is surprisingly fast, much faster than the fastest little flying dragon in the second section of the road. Anyone who is familiar with Summoner knows what is Summoner most afraid of. Of course I'm afraid of being approached. The melee ability of Summoner is worse than that of various mages. It is almost impossible to resist after being approached. Huang Sikong's situation is similar to that of Summoner. Although Gao Kasheng didn't know what means Yu Fan used to let Huang Sikong master the ability to control monsters. But Huang Sikong is still a living profession after all. Once he is approached, he will probably be inferior to a summoner. While his thoughts were spinning, 5 or 6 cursed black octopuses had already crossed Huang Sikong's defense line of the bull-headed beast, climbed onto the Yanjia giant, and headed straight for Huang Sikong. Just when everyone thought it was over, Huang Si was impulsive. He waved his hand and took out something from the ring. It was a small hilt. Even if others are not familiar with this thing, it is impossible for Gao Kasheng not to be familiar with it. This is what he is proud of, and it is something that no other profession can use. There, sword soul, special weapon, lightsaber. It's crazy, isn't it? Gao Kasheng felt an extremely absurd feeling in his heart. With a buzz, sound, the dazzling blade protruded from the front of the hilt of the sword in Huang Sikong's hand. Huang Sikong didn't waste any words, he just slashed at the cursed black octopus that rushed towards him. It has to be said that lightsabers are admired for a reason. Huang Sikong had neither swordsman's skills nor any swordsmanship training, but with just one ordinary sword strike, he could still cut the little black octopus in half in an instant. With a lightsaber in hand, monsters like the little black octopus that were only fast but had low defense would not pose much of a threat to him. Huang Sikong kept waving his lightsaber on the head of the Yan family giant. His traveling speed was not greatly affected and he continued to move forward steadily. This time Gao Kasheng really couldn't sit still. He suddenly jumped up from his seat and looked at the lightsaber in Huang Sikong's hand with a solemn expression. Can I actually use a lightsaber in my career? For Gao Kasheng, this was undoubtedly a bolt from the blue. Yu Fan has a way to give people who are not sword souls the ability to use lightsabers. Gao Kasheng didn't know whether this matter would be beneficial to Long Guo. But Gao Kasheng knew that this matter would definitely be explosive for them, sword souls. At that time, all the strong swordsmen came to Yu Fan, and everyone got a lightsaber and put it on their body. Even if you don't use it, it's still good to use it occasionally to show off your coolness and coolness. Once such a situation occurs, the price of high-end lightsabers will rise to an unprecedented height. Especially lightsabers above level 50. These awakened bosses are not only not short of money, but they also love to show off. It's hard to imagine how much money they would spend just to grab a decent lightsaber. When the time comes, it will be innocent little sword souls like myself who will suffer the consequences. After finally reaching level 50 and completing their awakening. But he couldn't afford a decent lightsaber at all. And even if you want to go into the abyss and explode a lightsaber yourself, it will be equally difficult. Since ancient times, it is difficult for sword souls to explode with lightsabers. Lightsabers were invented by those professions that couldn't use lightsabers. It's metaphysical, but very real. Not even his own teacher, the Dragon Kingdom Sword God, could escape this curse. The main lightsabers he currently uses, Double Dragon Demonic Shadow Sword, Terra Stone Lightsaber, Skywalker, Thunder Sword, Kunlun, without exception, these swords are brushed by other strong men. The abyss burst out and then was given to him. Among them, Double Dragon Shadow Sword, Terra Stone Light Sword, and Skywalker were given to him by the strongest of the other three schools of ghost swordsmen. As the strongest players in each genre, money no longer means much to them. So they were too lazy to sell these top-notch lightsabers for money, so they might as well give them to the sword god and sell him some face. Because of this, the sword god was able to collect so many top-notch lightsabers. To be honest, Gao Kasheng has been coveting his master's lightsaber for more than a day or two. Just waiting for the day when he can upgrade to level 60, and then the sword god will reward him with one when he is happy. But now, that dream is in jeopardy. If Yu Fan lets other swordsmen have the lightsaber grandmaster skill, it will be completely over. Let alone reward yourself with a lightsaber, even the sword god himself doesn't know how many lightsabers he can keep. Human beings value face the most only when they are not respected. When you are respected by most people, being shameless is the norm. Gao Kasheng can completely imagine that when those strong men can also use lightsabers, they will definitely run to get back the lightsabers given to the sword god. If the sword god dares not to give it, he will definitely have to have a slap in the face and have a bad mouth. Old naughty boy, after a person reaches a certain age, he becomes just like a child. I gave you the lightsaber because I couldn't use it, and now that I can use it, of course you have to give it back to me, no problem. When the time comes, the Dragon Kingdom Sword God will have no sword to use. This is so ridiculous. Gao Kasheng shivered. No, Yu Fan must be controlled by the Sword God lineage. Gao Kasheng frowned and his eyes were firm. Principal Wang, this Yu Fan is from your school, right? Gao Kasheng tried his best to suppress his emotions and spoke calmly. Wang Xingde was stunned for a moment, then nodded and said, yes, what's wrong? It's like this. Master Sword God plans to accept Yu Fan as his disciple. After the exam is over, you can give me Yu Fan's portfolio and I will take it directly to Kyoto University. Gao Kasheng said. Oh, by the way, bring me Huang Sikong's as well. He also entered our Kyoto University. Ah, Wang Xing looked confused. Although Yu Fan is ridiculously strong, he is not a sword soul profession at all, not even a swordsman. Ah, what? Do you think my master can't teach him? Gao Kasheng said. The sword god is the strongest man in the Dragon Kingdom. Even if he is not in the same profession, he still has a lot to teach others. But this doesn't comply with the regulations. Wang Xing was confused. According to regulations, the results of the college entrance examination should be released first, and then wait for the admissions offices of major universities to come over and give priority to students with excellent scores. In the end, students who are not directly selected go to various schools to participate in interviews. This is the correct process. Even if Gao Kasheng wants to admit Yu Fan on behalf of Kyoto University, he can only work with the admissions offices of other universities after the college entrance examination. How? Gao Kasheng's face turned cold slightly. As a disciple of the sword god, he usually has to provide some entertainment for his master. He knows very well that he must be tougher at such times. You mean, in the Dragon Kingdom, is there any better place for Yu Fan to go than to study under the sword god of Kyoto University? Ah, this. Wang Xingda's face looked a little ugly. Gao Kasheng forced the sword god to move out like this. If he still doesn't agree, then he is not giving the sword god face. This is really something he doesn't want to see. After all, he still respects the Lord Sword God who has guarded the Dragon Kingdom for more than 30 years. Just when Wang Xing was about to sullenly agree, a hoarse and rough voice came from the door of the room, interrupting the conversation between the two. I said, Xiao Sheng, I haven't seen you for a while. You, the second disciple of the Sword God, have such great official authority. Hearing this familiar voice, Gao Kasheng's right eyelid jumped suddenly, and he was shocked. Madhu, why did the old guy from the military department come here? It's over, it's over, it's over. The person who came was a tall, thin old man. The strange thing is that although he looks very thin, his face is rosy and he looks full of energy and blood. This person is none other than Ren Yishu, the second in command of the Dragon Kingdom's military department, a level 68 Grandmaster, and the number 1 Berserker in the Dragon Kingdom, known as the Big Horse Monkey. This person is so powerful and his fighting style is so violent that even if the sword god comes, without using the second awakening skill 10,000 swords return to the sect, he can barely fight a draw. Gao Kasheng turned his head sarcastically. Senior Ren, what are you talking about? Senior Ren, what are you talking about? I am not here to recruit some good talents for our Kyoto University. Gao Kasheng said with a smile. The only good news now is that Ren Yishu is also from Kyoto University, so he won't drag Yu Fan to another school. Oh, you big tide, you think I'm fooling you? Are you recruiting people for Kyoto University? You are recruiting people for the Sword God lineage and Tianluo Palace. Ren Yishu didn't save any face for Gao Kasheng and pointed it out directly. In the past few years, the surrounding areas of the Dragon Kingdom have been very unstable. There has been a constant wave of beasts, and even the small surrounding countries have been making small moves. There are those who pour things into the sea, there are those who crazily steal the culture of the Dragon Kingdom and claim it as their own, and there are even those who dare to sell the Dragon Kingdom's people for fraud, or even sell their organs. Regarding these matters, the Long Kingdom Military Department has always been the main combatant. Their proposition is simple: fight. Beat him hard until he is convinced. However, this proposition was strongly opposed by Tianluodian, headed by Sword God. And every time the military asked about the reason, Tianluodian always remained silent. If things go on like this, the military department and Tianluodian will be at odds with each other. There have been several voices within the military department that want to ignore Tianluo Palace and directly attack those small countries that are not submissive. However, due to the fact that Tianluo Palace has too many high-end combat capabilities, there has been little progress. Each of the 12 Tianluo in Tianluo Hall is a Grandmaster above level 50, and 6 of them are Grandmasters above level 60. With such strength, the military absolutely cannot ignore it and take action forcefully. Therefore, the situation can only remain in a stalemate here, with the two parties with different opinions suppressing each other. Haha, looking for apprentices for my master is just like recruiting people for our Kyoto University. It's all the same, all the same. Gao Kasheng was speechless and had nothing to say, so he could only start a fight. Haha. HMPH, it's true that a master can teach a disciple. Follow that old ghost Yi Lan and learn to be glib. What does it look like? Ren Yishu was very dissatisfied with Gao Kasheng's oily appearance and smooth tone. Because he is completely imitating his master, the sword god Yi Lan. To this day, he still can't understand that there are so many talented and hardworking people in the world. Why is it that only Yi Lan, a coquettish guy who drinks, smokes cigars and walks among women all day long, can realize the second awakening and reach the divine level? Ren Yishu and Qin Haitian behind him looked at each other, and then walked to the window. Which one is Yu Fan? Qin Haitian pointed to one of the light curtains. Ren Yishu looked at the light curtain, stunned for a moment, and then narrowed his eyes. In the light curtain, Yu Fan is controlling Susanoo, sitting on the boss of the third section of the road to heaven, the celestial curtain beast, and beating this big whale. The giant beast of the sky, the giant kun in mythology, floats in the sky, and has mountains, rivers, temples, and everything on its back. Naming this monster with the name, Celestial Curtain Behemoth, fully shows its huge size. Its body is more than 100 meters long and its height is also a full 50 meters. Relying on its huge size, it can easily defeat many low-level professionals. Because they can't break through its defense at all, and thick fat is its best defense. But it's a pity that this trick has no effect on Yu Fan. Susanoo is not inferior to him at all. During the attack on this big whale, Yu Fan was surprised to find that it was different from all the previous monsters. The power of heaven only emerged after the previous monsters died. But this is not the case for this big whale. Every time Yu Fan punches it, a surge of heavenly power will come out of its body. This causes Yu Fan to feel a little bit better every time he punches, and then he feels, Eula, oiler, and can't stop at all. The whale was covered in flesh and blood, and Yu Fan was sitting on it, punching wildly, with a satisfied expression on his face. This reminded Ren Yishu of a fighting game called The King of Fighters 97 Inches that he played as a child. There is a character named Yori in this game, and he has a big move called Yori Yagami. That's actually what I was called when I was a kid. This move is for Yagami to rush over and push the opponent's character to the ground, sit on the opponent's body, frantically take off all the clothes, and then hammer him hard several times. The feeling Yu Fan gave him now was similar to that of Yagami. But Ren Yishu has no objection to this. He is an extremely realist person. As long as this person has strength and doesn't do anything illegal, it doesn't matter to him as to what this person's psychology is like. The so-called gentleman talks about his deeds, regardless of his heart. When it comes to his heart, no one is perfect in the world. Can't he be a good person if he is pervert at heart? Despair cry. After watching for a few more minutes, Ren Yishu took out his cell phone from his pocket and started making a call. Gao Kasheng raised his eyebrows. He didn't know who Ren Yishu was going to call. This won't work, I have to shake the master over too. Gao Kasheng muttered quietly and walked out the door calmly. Ren Yishu operated the mobile phone with his left hand, and raised his right hand slightly, aiming it at Gao Kasheng who was walking out. The next moment, red light as thick as substance surged out crazily from the palm of his right hand, flying towards Gao Kasheng like tentacles. Before Gao Kasheng could make any reaction, he was already tied up tightly. Then the red light shrank and pulled Gao Kasheng back into Ren Yishu's hand. Ren Yishu lifted Gao Kasheng up like a chicken and placed him where he originally stood. Soul Eating Hand. The Berserker's level 20 skill uses the power of blood to grab an enemy in front and absorb its blood, and then erupts the absorbed blood, which can cause physical damage to the enemy. When the blood is erupted, enemies behind you will also be harmed. With Ren Yishu's control, he can use this skill flexibly, allowing it to use its grabbing ability without harming Gao Kasheng. Stay here well. You are not allowed to go anywhere until the exam is over. Ren Yishu said calmly. But, senior, I need to go to the toilet. My stomach hurts. There are 3 urgent needs for people. Gao Kasheng still wants to go out. Why are you so anxious? If it doesn't work, just pull your pants down. I'll buy you a new pair of pants later. Gao Kasheng was speechless. At this time, Ren Yishu's call was also answered. Hello, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, right? Ren Yishu, Want your person in charge of connecting with Neon to dig up skills to answer my call. Quote. There was a busy tone on the phone, and not long after, a middle-aged man's voice came over. Hello, General Ren, I am the person in charge of the Ninja Skill Purchase Project. What can I do for you? Quote. That's right. Please suspend the follow-up between this project and Neon Country. The person on the other end of the phone was obviously a little surprised. But we have finally made some progress. Neon has agreed that as long as Dragon Kingdom pays a one-time buyout fee of 2 billion, then it will open level 20 skills to Dragon Kingdom's ninjas, at a price of 4 million each. It's suspended now. I'm afraid Neon will be unhappy. Quote. Shit, Dragon Kingdom will give you 2 billion in one lump sum, and then professionals have to spend another 4 million to buy a level 20 skill. Is this what a person can say? He is not happy. Lousy and I are not happy too. Tell them to get away as far as they can. Sell their American dads to their American father for 4 million each of their skills. In short, this project is suspended now. If anything goes wrong because of this, I, Ren Yishu, will bear the responsibility. Ren Yishu hung up the phone angrily. Fortunately, he made the call, otherwise if he really signed the contract like this, he would be so angry that he would vomit blood. The little Neon in the dog's day. After Yufan's skills are developed, he had to sell it to Xiao Neon in person, so he asked them to pay a buyout fee of 100 billion first, and then asked the Neon people to pay 2 billion to buy a skill. Should you buy it or not? If you don't buy it, you are looking down on our country, Dragon Country. I'll kill you on the spot. After doing this, Ren Yishu started to look at Yufan's big test again. At this time, Yufan had already killed the Celestial Curtain Behemoth, and entered the 4th stage of the Road to Heaven. The monsters in the 4th section are all monsters in the Dark City area. Compared with the previous monsters, not only the level has been greatly improved, but the number has also doubled. In order to quickly clear out these miscellaneous soldiers, Yufan showed Ren Yishu Great Fire Extinguishment, Great Fire Extinguishing Kamui, Multiple Shadow Clone, Dust Hide, and other ninjutsu. Cleaning up the battlefield is as easy as wiping the table with a rag. The eyes of this iron-blooded general from the main fighting faction were filled with brilliance. Almost all of Yufan's skills are super wide AoE skills, and the damage is also very good. And the blue giant is simply a war machine. If this was put on the battlefield, the effect would be absolutely terrifying. The improvement of one's own morale and the blow to the enemy's morale are unparalleled. Just when Ren Yishu was fascinated by Yufan's battle, his clothes were pulled off by the person next to him. Ren Yishu turned around and saw that it was Qin Haitian. What's wrong? Ren Yishu asked. Qin Haitian pointed to a light curtain next to him. Look at this student. The person he was referring to was naturally Huang Sikong. Gao Kasheng saw this scene from the side and scolded all the 18 generations of Qin Haitian's ancestors in his heart. Originally, he was still taking chances. As long as Ren Yishu didn't discover Huang Sikong, the problem wouldn't be big. In the end, Qin Haitian pointed it out. Qin Haitian, the lord of Luo City, turned out to be a supporter of the military. He was really careless. Gao Kasheng frowned slightly. Originally, he just came to Luo City for a casual stroll to see if he could find a junior sister or junior brother for himself, but it ended up involving so many things. Ren Yishu looked at the light curtain pointed by Qin Haitian. In the light curtain, Huang Sikong is fighting hard on the 4th section of the Road to Heaven. He used the Great Fire Extinguishment burned into his right eye by Yufan to achieve good output and successfully defeated the 3rd stage boss, the Sky Curtain Behemoth. But because he advanced too slowly in the 4th stage, he was already caught up by Yufan. Although Yufan played very easily, it didn't look much different from the previous paragraphs. But in fact, the difficulty of the 4th paragraph has far exceeded the strength limit of most candidates. 99.9% of students fail and exit without even seeing the boss in the 4th stage. At this moment, only 4 of the 8 Tauren Beast Lords that Yufan had helped Huang Sikong were left. In the 4th section, where the difficulty suddenly increased, Huang Sikong had to change his tactics. Switch from a conservative play style to a radical play style and let the Tauren Beast Lords charge into battle together. Use the life of the bull-headed Beast Lord in exchange for advancing the journey. Fortunately, the purple demonic eye skill is very special. Without the bull-headed beast, Huang Sikong can still use local materials to control some 4th level, skeleton soldiers, and elemental elves to fight. Of course, without the bull-headed beast as a barrier, Huang Sikong and the wooden monkey lord on the Yanjia giant were completely exposed to the monsters. Huang Sikong kept buzzing with the Aurora sword, constantly fighting off the monsters that climbed up the Yanjia giant. He felt that after passing this big test, his swordsmanship would definitely improve a lot. And every time he kills a monster, he will feel like, I'm too handsome. In the viewing room, who is this sword spirit who swings his lightsaber like shit? Quote. Ren Yishu looked contemptuous. Huang Sikong couldn't see himself. He was in a state of singing with headphones on. I thought, my singing is so nice, it's just like the original song. Only the people next to you know how bad your singing is. How does he control these monsters? In Ren Yishu's opinion, this little guy is a sword soul who can control wild monsters. And he is also the kind of opportunistic person. He is obviously a sword soul, but he has no swordsmanship at all, and he always relies on these fancy tricks. We don't know how he controls these wild monsters. But you're wrong about one thing. Qin Haitian paused and gave up. Oh, what did I say wrong? Ren Yishu looked at Qin Haitian. This Huang Sikong is not a sword soul. Quote. Qin Haitian's voice was not loud, but it was like a thunder exploding in Ren Yishu's ears. Ren Yishu's whole body trembled, and his breathing suddenly became heavier. Even when he just saw Yufan fighting, he didn't lose his composure like this. You said he is not a sword soul, then what is his profession? Quote. I can't blame Ren Yishu for being so out of character. You know, it has been thousands of years since humans developed professions and divided them into many schools. However, during this long period of time, one and only sword soul has the skill lightsaber grandmaster so that it can use that unique and enviable weapon, lightsaber. Huang Sikong is just a life profession, divine eye appraiser, not even a combat profession. Quote. What? Ren Yishu's eyes suddenly widened. This is too trendy, how did he do it? If he can even use a lightsaber in a living profession, then why can't he, a majestic level 68 Grand Master, use it? That's right, he has been following Yufan, As the lord of a city, it is impossible for Qin Haitian to think of things that Gao Kashang can think of. Immediately, Qin Haitian told Ren Yishu his guess, saying that Yufan was probably responsible for this. Okay. Ren Yishu was overjoyed. He looked at Gao Kashang and finally understood why he was so anxious to get Yufan's file. It turned out that this was the problem. Hey. Seeing Ren Yishu looking at him, Gao Kashang forced out a smile that was uglier than crying. Ren Yishu took out his mobile phone again. My heart was so excited, my hands were shaking, and I couldn't even hold the phone steady. He made a phone call. After a busy tone, the phone was picked up. A magnetic, but somewhat frivolous voice came from inside. Hello, monkey, aren't you having a temper? Why did you remember to call me? In addition to this man's voice on the phone, there were also the voices of many women talking in low voices. Ah, you can't touch it there, it's too shameful. Not allowed there. If this happens again, I'm going to become weird. Spare me. How bad are you, Master Sword God? Quote. Ren Yishu suppressed his anger and said in a very polite tone. What about that, Lao Yi, do you still remember that I gave you a lightsaber called the Double Dragon Shadow Sword before? Quote. Remember, of course I remember. I still use it often. It's a dark attribute attack with a curse effect. It's really easy to use. What's wrong? Oh, that's right, it's nothing serious. Recently, our military department found a design drawing of a weapon. It looks very similar to the Double Dragon Shadow Sword. We plan to make it to see, so we want a Double Dragon Shadow Sword, take it for reference. Quote. Ren Yishu didn't even type a draft, he just opened his mouth. At this time, if Yilan directly said that he wanted the Double Dragon Shadow Sword back, he would definitely not give it back, so he had to change his words. Anyway, as long as it's in Ren Yishu's hands, don't even think about taking it back. How could Gao Kashang, who was right next to him, not know what the old man Ren Yishu was thinking, and immediately reminded his master not to give him the double dragon shadow sword. But as soon as he opened his mouth, the blood tentacles trapped on his body quickly reached out and blocked his mouth tightly. The sword god on the other end of the phone didn't think much at all and just believed Ren Yishu's words. After all, in his opinion, the lightsaber was of no use to Ren Yishu and the others. In the end, he had to use it for himself, so it was no big deal. Moreover, he was eager to discuss the meaning of life with the little beauty beside him. Okay, no problem, I'll have the sword delivered to the military headquarters tomorrow. Yi Lan said cheerfully, hearing Gao Kasheng next to him despair. At this moment, Yi Lan didn't realize that he would soon lose his beloved sword, Double Dragon Shadow Sword, forever. As the battle progressed, the Tauren Beast Lords, prepared by Yufan for Huang Sikong, fell on the road one by one. In the end, only Huang Sikong, Lord Wooden Monkey and Giant Yanjia were left standing on the fourth section of the road to the sky. Huang Sikong gritted his teeth, and the purple light on his forehead shone brightly. Push it to me. Iwaka Giant is the upgraded form of Rock Giant. Although its combat power has declined, it is still a Lord-level monster. A skinny camel is bigger than a horse. Once it charges, it cannot be underestimated. After all, given its size, a dump truck can knock over a car no matter how weak its power is. The Yanjia giant led Huang Sikong to launch the final charge, moving forward desperately, and Huang Sikong's distance accelerated. He rushed forward for a distance of about 70 or 80 meters. Huang Sikong clearly felt that the Yan family giant was at the end of his strength and was about to be exhausted, so he roared. Fire the wooden cannon. Quote, the people of Longguo have a catchphrase, everyone who comes comes comes. Huang Sikong felt that he had already arrived, and he was only 20 or 30 meters away. He still had to take a look at what the boss looked like. Lord Wooden Monkey is indeed an old gunner who has been shooting for decades. The cannonball drew a beautiful arc and landed steadily on the huge portal belonging to the boss at the end. Then, the vortex in the portal began to rotate, and a huge head full of putrid smell poked out of it. There wasn't much flesh and blood on this head. At first glance, it looked like it was all bones, with a single horn on the top of its head. It has no eyes, and there are two special spells attached to the eyes. The area below the neck was locked by a huge iron chain. The iron chain was covered with moss and made a clang, dankang sound from time to time. Nah, spits the bone dragon. This bone dragon Spitz is the most vicious boss in the Dark City dungeon area. Although it was blocked by a mysterious iron chain and was less than 10 in strength, even so, it still killed countless adventurers with its terrifying poisonous mist. Spitz hasn't appeared on a major test in years. In previous years, the boss of this level was usually human-faced demon spider, or ghost Nana. The difficulty of this year's exam is really a bit ridiculously high. Oh my god, if I had known better, I wouldn't have been so mean. Huang Sikong didn't have time to think too much and quickly reached out to take out the unused crystal. But it was obviously a step too late. Spitz roared at Huang Sikong. With the sound of roar, Huang Sikong was instantly enveloped. In addition to sound waves, there was also a dark purple poisonous mist. Huang Sikong inadvertently sucked it gently, and a pungent burning sensation ran from his throat to his buttocks. It made him feel like he was being poked. Hiss. He took a breath and pressed the crystal hard. Exit. The next moment, just like when he came in, a white light enveloped Huang Sikong's body, and then the scenery in front of him faded, and he was sent off the road to heaven. A considerable number of candidates have gathered outside. The exam is not over yet and they cannot leave yet. Some of these people were in high spirits, discussing intensely what they had just encountered in the exam. And some people are ashen-faced, with their heads lowered and in a state of autistic isolation. It is clear at a glance who did well and who did poorly. Of course, more of them are candidates like Huang Sikong who were injured inside and howled in pain after coming out. The organizers of the big exam naturally took this situation into consideration. Every year for the big exam, the Dragon Kingdom will go to the Bear Kingdom to recruit a large number of bright knights, also known as nurses, and nurses, to escort the candidates of the Dragon Kingdom. Huang Sikong knew that a crying child should be fed by milk, so he howled with all his strength as soon as he came out. Save me, save me. I was sprayed by the bone dragon's poisonous gas, and I'm about to die. Ah, it hurts me to death. His voice was immediately heard by a muscular man carrying a cross not far away. He gave Huang Xikong a confident smile. Little classmate, don't be afraid, what I'm best at is detoxification. Huang Xikong breathed a sigh of relief when he saw this scene, thinking that he was finally safe. But before he could feel at ease for a few seconds, he saw the guy who said he was the best at detoxifying. He took off his cross and inserted it into the ground. Plunge it into the ground. Huang Xikong. My life is at an end. Huang Xikong almost doubted his life. He didn't believe that this guy could help him heal himself. Just when he was doubting whether he could survive this level, a large group of people, including more than a dozen people, surrounded him. Huang Xikong took a closer look and saw a dozen fair-skinned girls with big breasts. He is lying on the ground now. Looking up from his angle, that guy is full of rolling waves. Just when Huang Xikong was at a loss, his father Huang Jianlin's voice came from the VIP viewing room. Hurry up, don't let anything happen to my son. According to regulations, parents are not allowed to enter the middle venue during the exam period. But if you want to spend your own money to hire a licensed medical professional to go in and treat your child's injuries, that's no problem. Huang Xikong was immediately moved. Sure enough, father and son are still father and son. Blood is thicker than water. At critical moments, you still have to rely on your father. Before Huang Xikong could be moved for a few seconds, Huang Jianlin shouted from the air again. If you really can't save him, think of a way to hang him alive first. Ask him how he controls the wild monsters to fight, and how he uses the lightsaber. If it doesn't work, you can ask this question first and then take care of it. Huang Jianlin was so excited that during Huang Xikong's challenge on the road to heaven, he almost fainted from excitement several times. The Huang family's semi-hereditary profession, divine eye appraiser, can actually fight. And it's so strong. This is a great joy. Huang Xikong's originally moved mood collapsed instantly. He struggled to sit up, resisting the pain, and shouted in the direction of the VIP viewing room. Dad, uncle, third uncle. I know you are in a hurry, but don't be anxious yet. This matter is too complicated, and I can't explain it clearly in a short while. Let me figure it out first. In 10 or 20 years, when I take charge of the Bayota Chamber of Commerce, I might be able to straighten it out. I'll tell you when the time comes. What a scene of loving father and filial piety. But it wasn't that Huang Xikong didn't want to say it. After all, these abilities of his, whether it is purple demonic eyes or lightsaber grandmaster, were all burned into his eyes and eyes by Yufan. Even if he wanted to help his father and the others, he had to get Yufan's permission first. He wasn't worried that Yufan would refuse. After following Yufan for so many days, he also discovered that for some reason, Yufan always wanted money very much. And what his father is most in need of is money. Well, when the time comes I have to remind the boss that the money cannot be reduced, Huang Xikong said in his heart. Just as Huang Xikong and Huang Jianlin were shouting at each other across the air, another white light flashed on the altar in the middle of the square, and two figures were sent out. Huang Xikong took a closer look and saw that it was actually Mangekyō and Yu Yanran. Both of them were seriously injured at this moment, their armors were in tatters and fine wounds could be seen everywhere. Mangekyō was even more unsteady on his feet, like a bloody man. You can imagine how hard he worked on the road to heaven. I succeeded. I hit the fourth 800-meter section. I am number 1 in Los Angeles. Mangekyō kept mumbling that the fourth section of 800 meters was already a good result that Luo Cheng had not achieved in many years. In terms of points, there are at least hundreds of thousands of points, ranking among the top 3,000 in the Dragon Kingdom, no problem. The Jondi Nai, who was originally planning to treat Huang Xikong, immediately walked up and planned to treat Mangekyō. Mangekyō forced himself to look in the direction of the VIP viewing room. He felt that his performance should be enough to impress the frozen fish sword master Gao Kashang. Huang Xikong, Yufan, you are finished. Then he tilted his head and passed out. Haha, the fourth section is 800 meters, and you are first in Luo City. Even I can't beat it, but you are still first in Luo City. Huang Xikong curled his lips and said, standing behind the two of them, he could clearly hear what Mangekyō muttered. The fourth section of the road to heaven is 1,200 meters in total. 800 meters is only 2/3 of the way, and it is still far from seeing the boss, Bone Dragon Spitz. Although Bone Dragon Spitz is powerful and its poison gas attack is unavoidable, Huang Sikong believes that Yufan will definitely have a way to kill it and enter the 5th stage of the national top 100 competition. What Huang Sikong didn't expect was that even if he didn't clear the 4th section, Yufan had already firmly entered the top 100 in the country. After a hard fight, Yufan finally cleaned up the monsters in the 4th section. The road to the sky was full of monster corpses, and there was not a single moving monster. Everyone in the VIP room on the 3rd floor clearly saw that Yufan's current points were 289,000, and he was currently ranked 24th in the country. Except for him, all the people in the top 50 are candidates who have entered the 5th section. He is the only one who has not even seen the boss of the 4th stage. Several principals looked at Ren Yishu, whose face was full of black lines, and didn't know how to explain it. What on earth is he doing? Has no one taught him how to fight on the road to heaven? Ren Yishu asked. When he first came in, Yufan was fighting the 3rd stage boss, Heavenly Curtain Monster, so this was the first time he saw Yufan fighting the monsters in front. At first, he thought Yufan was just trying to clear out more monsters so that he could challenge the boss on the road section, so as not to be disturbed when fighting the boss. He also agreed with Yufan's cautious approach. But then, the more he looked at it, the more something was wrong. Why didn't Yufan have any intention of stopping? No wonder he is so strong. He is still in the 4th stage, and he has not even seen the boss. It's unfair, General. It's not that our Nanchang No. 1 middle school didn't teach him how to fight. The other students in our Nanchang No. 1 middle school all fight quite normally. Wang Xing quickly complained. He didn't want the second in command of the Dragon Kingdom's military department to think that his school was a parallel import school that didn't teach anything. And it's actually quite beneficial for him to play like this. If you don't believe me, look at his points ranking. Wang Xing pointed to the stone tablet. Yufan's points finally exceeded 290,000, rising 1 place again to 23 road. Ren Yishu looked at the stone tablet and didn't know what to say. The 5th section of the road to heaven is extremely difficult, and every meter advanced can increase a large number of points. It is a place where the top 100 dragon kingdoms compete with each other. This is almost everyone's consensus. But this year, this consensus was broken. Yufan proved to everyone with practical actions, hey, I can still get into the top 100 just by farming monsters. In the light curtain, after clearing out all the monsters in the 4th stage, Yufan clearly felt that his physical fitness was just 1 step away from being able to use the 3rd gate of the 8 inner gates, Shengmen. Others become more and more tired as they fight, but he is different. With the continuous integration of the power of heaven, he becomes more energetic and excited the more he fights. Yufan kicked open the portal of the 4th boss. Bone Dragon Spitz slowly poked out its huge dragon head from the portal as usual. But this time, before it could fully extend its head, it received a heavy blow on its head. Bang! Susanoo hit the right side of its skull with a hard elbow. The bone was instantly smashed into pieces and scattered in all directions. Anyone who knows something about fighting knows that elbows and knees are far more powerful than punches and kicks. Before the bone dragon could react to the blow, Yufan rained down fists, knocking the big head around. Bone Dragon, Uncle Policeman, believe me, I just came out of my house and without doing anything, I was inexplicably beaten dozens of times by this man. It's a pity that Bone Dragon can't speak, otherwise he would definitely scold Yufan for not practicing martial ethics. Of course, even if it could speak, Yufan would not give it a chance to speak. But, Skeleton Dragon Spitz is also the king of the Dark City area after all. How has he ever been so angry? Immediately, his whole body was shaken, and a large amount of poisonous gas was released that was dozens of times thicker than the poisonous gas that Huang Sikong inhaled. The poisonous gas spread rapidly, covering this small area in almost just a few breaths. Yufan froze, frowned and looked around. He sniffed and smelled a faint unpleasant smell. Hiss! This poisonous mist is so overbearing that even Susan can penetrate it. Nice one. With a thought, Yufan activated Flying Thunder God, escaped from Susanoo, and then teleported to a place behind where the poisonous fog could not cover him. Every time he passes a certain distance, he will leave a mark on the ground to prepare for unexpected situations. Just when the bone dragon thought that Yufan could not resist his poisonous mist and escaped, he wanted to launch a few more waves of long-range poisonous mist attacks. The pattern of Mangekyō Sharingan in Yufan's eyes changed rapidly and turned into the shape of a spinning shuriken. Kamui. A gap in space with extremely strong suction suddenly appeared in the middle of the thick poisonous mist. The poisonous mist poured into Yufan's Kamui space like water flowing into a drain. After a while, it was all sucked into it. The corner of Yufan's mouth raised slightly. Your poisonous mist is indeed very strong. But I just need to take out Kamui. The next second this poisonous mist will be mine. Hey, Bone Dragon, do you still have poisonous mist? Give me some more. Who can use this little bit? Yufan said calmly. Hey, wait. Yufan touched his chin. Why don't I take away the entire head of this bone dragon? Wouldn't all the poisonous mist contained in it belong to me? Although it takes a lot of pupil power, but I will kill more monsters in the future anyway. When the total pupil power increases, I can still recover. 5 seconds later, the bone dragon's head completely disappeared on the road to the sky. The bone dragon whose head was twisted off its body died immediately. The power of heaven contained in it slowly emerged from his head, just floating in Yufan's Kamui space. With a thought, Yufan used the power of Kamui in his right eye to bring it into contact with his body. This force of heaven immediately merged with his body. As expected of the power of heaven possessed by Gulong Spitz, the shackles that Yufan felt were about to be broken were shattered in the blink of an eye. Not only that, even the power of heaven required for the fourth gate, Suffering Gate, has reached half. Yufan clenched his fist, feeling the surging power in his body. The comfort brought by this physical strength is unmatched by other powers. In some situations, only physical strength can conquer your opponent and make her convinced of you. Yufan believes that with 8 inner gates, there is no opponent he cannot conquer. But after being happy for a while, he frowned again. The dog system clearly said that the power of heaven here can reach up to the 4th gate. But now there is still a long way to go before the 4th gate, Injury Gate. According to what Yufan has learned in school, the 5th section of the road is the most special existence of the entire road to heaven. Because there are no monsters inside. Since there are no monsters, it is naturally impossible to explode the power of heaven like before. What is going on? Yufan muttered to himself and turned around to walk into the final area of the road to heaven. Entering the last section of the road to heaven. Yufan's first impression is of openness, which makes people's eyes light up. Different from the cramped feeling of being crowded with monsters in the previous sections, this place is empty and vast as far as the eye can see. In front of Yufan is an indescribable huge piece of water like a bronze mirror. At the end of the water, a magenta light cluster like the setting sun hung at the intersection of water and sky. Its rays reflect on the water, which reflects them to all corners of the area. Everywhere Yufan saw was stained with that magenta brilliance to varying degrees. It's so beautiful, Yufan sighed. Although I heard the teacher describe it many times and saw many pictures, I was still shocked when I actually saw it. Unfortunately, just like women, the more beautiful they are, the more dangerous they are. Yufan knelt down and patted the mirror-like water surface with his hand. Ripples swayed from Yufan's fingertips, spreading outward in circles. At the moment when the ripples appeared, a thunderous roar suddenly sounded, and the soft magenta light group in the distance suddenly became violent, like a Sichuan and Chongqing beauty who suddenly lost her temper, exuding the majesty of Lao Zishu Daoshan, pressure. Attacks with different attributes burst out from it, drawing long arcs in the horizon and rushing towards Yufan's position. That's right, this golden water surface is not for decoration. It is actually the eye of the distant light group, just like a radar. Where there are ripples, it means there are intruders. The light group will immediately launch a fierce and indiscriminate attack on that location. In the viewing room, Ren Yishu looked at the light curtain where Yufan was with interest. Xiao Shang, how many meters do you think this Yufan will move forward? Wu, Gao Kasheng's mouth was still blocked and he could only make muffled sounds. Only then did Ren Yishu react and quickly untied the tentacles made of blood. Gao Kasheng moved his somewhat numb limbs that were tied up, and then thought for a while. I think I can at least run more than 4,000 meters. Ren Yishu raised his eyebrows. Gao Kasheng's answer was beyond his expectation. You know, this guy's admiration for Yilan has reached an almost obsessed level. Everything about Yilan is good in his heart, and he even wants to learn from his chaotic lifestyle. Ren Yishu clearly remembers that when Yilan took the exam, he only advanced 3,800 meters in the last section. It is impossible for Gao Kasheng not to know this. But even so, he still gave an estimate of 4,000 meters, which shows how much he recognizes Yufan's ability. He has already scored nearly 300,000 points. If he can advance 2,000 meters, wouldn't he set a new record of 350,000 points in the Dragon Kingdom exam? It's very possible. Gao Kasheng nodded. Haha, although I don't know why you have so much confidence in him, I do think he may not be able to advance too far. He may not even be able to reach 3,200 meters. Ren Yishu said calmly that 3,200 meters was the distance he traveled here back then. Yufan's attack power is indeed outrageous, but the final test is not about attack ability. It can even be said that attack power is meaningless here. Speed, defense, dodge ability and recovery ability are the most important. Back then, he relied on the Berserker's magical skill of recovering blood death resistance to charge forward despite the attacks. Gao Kasheng exhaled, shook his head and said, "You'll understand after reading this." He still clearly remembered what happened when he first met Yufan in front of Yufan's house. Yufan used a very strange skill and directly let his drawing sword slash penetrate through his body without producing any effect. This skill is really suitable for use in the last section of the exam. If this skill can be used multiple times in a short period of time. Gao Kasheng even felt that the estimate of 4,000 meters was too conservative. On the road to heaven, a red and purple energy group attacked Yufan from both sides. They represent fire attribute attacks and dark attribute attacks respectively. Different types of attribute attacks can sometimes produce special effects when used together. For example, if the fire attribute and the dark attribute are put together, the person hit will be poisoned by fire. Bang, bang. The water is only 10 centimeters deep, but the splash is several meters high. When the water splash fell, Yufan was no longer where he was. If you look carefully, you can see that the figure in black clothes, black robe and white mask has jumped out a few dozen meters away. So fast, even Ren Yishu couldn't help but exclaimed. He asked himself that at Yufan's age, his speed was definitely far behind Yufan's. Transformed by massive amounts of heavenly power, Yufan's body has now reached a very terrifying level. Even if he doesn't use any skills, his speed is definitely incomparable to others. The attack is emanating from the giant light blob at the end of the road section, so the farther away you are, the higher the delay of the attack. At this time, Yufan was still at the very edge, and it took about a second for the attack to arrive at its location. With a 1-second delay, and the fact that the opponent had absolutely no idea what to do, Yufan couldn't be hit. He ran all the way towards the location of the light ball, and the water behind him was constantly being blown up. 100 meters, 200 meters, 300 meters. As the distance increases, the delay of the light group attack becomes lower and lower, and the density of the attack becomes higher and higher. Why? Ren Yishu looked at it and suddenly discovered a strange place. Why does Yufan keep running on the water? Why doesn't he sink? You know, the depth of this golden lake is not constant. At the beginning, the depth at the very edge is only about 10 centimeters. As it continues to advance, the water depth will continue to increase. The examinee's feet, legs, and body are slowly submerged in the water, which will create huge obstacles when moving, greatly affecting the examinee's movement efficiency. But Yufan had already run 200 to 300 meters, but he didn't see him being affected by the water at all. Ren Yishu took a closer look. Oh my god, not only did it not sink, Yufan's feet were not even in the water. Yufan always runs on water. Interesting, what kind of skill is this? Ren Yishu has seen many water-type professionals. Some of them swim in the water, some are supported by the water and run, and some can float on the water. But this is the first time I've seen Yufan running around on the water like this. I don't know, I haven't heard of it. If you ask him, he will probably say that he developed it himself. Gao Kasheng said numbly. In fact, this skill was purchased by Yufan in the system just now. Basic ninjutsu, walk on water, attach chakra to the soles of the feet, allowing the user to gain the ability to move on water. Just such a basic ninjutsu actually costs 300 points. Although 300 coupons doesn't sound like much, it's not $3, it's 3 million. Thinking about Yufan makes my body ache. But in order to find a way to get the power of heaven here, the ability to move above the water is essential. After all, I will definitely use Kamui Hollow to avoid attacks later on. But I can't take Susan with me to Hollow. Therefore, it was definitely not advisable to rely on Susanoo to get there. Yufan weighed it and bought Walk on Water. For the time being, it seems to be quite useful. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.